Good morning. Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and will promote the interests of our people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelele elizwe letu nabantu valo, umesele ukulunga kipondo letu. Nkosi sikelele I Afrika, kina abantuano bayo, kokela inkokele zayo, nike ikolo I Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. You may be seated. Good morning to all our honourable members and to guests and those that are currently online as we proceed today with our order paper. Before we proceed, I'd like to just remind the members about some of the logistical arrangements with regards to participating virtually and ensuring that you please have good audio and that there are no disturbances when you are online. I've also granted media access or access to the media, but just to remind all our guests that they may not interrupt or switch on their microphones or their video cameras during the sitting. And honourable members are reminded that no interjections are permitted during the hybrid sittings. And to this end, I draw the honourable members' attention to Rule 40 of our standing rules. Honourable members, we will then now proceed to the first order of the day. Honourable Sayed, I recognise you.
Chair, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. First issue before I go into the issues relating to the debate and time allocations is just we received a ATC yesterday indicating that the speaker or former speaker is no longer a member of the House. Could we please get clarity from the Secretary, possibly via yourself, as to whether a vacancy has been declared? Because if that is indeed the case, then the necessary processes ought to take place for the election of a speaker in this particular House. We cannot continue with so much of business, important business, without having an elected speaker as a matter of urgency.
Thank you very much. Deputy Whip, Syed, I would like to just remind the House that yesterday's sitting, we had a temporary chair that dealt with the matter according to the rules. So that is firstly most important. I'd also like to just take the opportunity, if I may, give me a second, please. Sorry, I'm not using a mouse. All right, that in terms of the ATC on the 1st of December, in terms of Section 62(5) of the National Constitution, read with Section 2.3 of the National Council of Provinces, all right, that was dealt with as a motion. And then with regards to the Secretary's matter on Monday, the 28th of November 2022, the Secretary to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament informed the former Speaker of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Mr. Masizole Mkasela, that the office of the Secretary received correspondence from the Democratic Alliance regarding the cessation of his membership of that political party. Mr. Mkasela was further informed that in terms of Section 106(3)(c) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, his membership of the WCPP has ceased. I quote, according to the ATC. I also note that yesterday's motion, which was supported in this House, the Secretary had used his formal mandate as per the parliamentary motion to communicate that ATC as well as communicate directly to the former Speaker. I trust that that will answer your question, Honourable Sayed.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, partially, but at the stage when we raised the issue and when clarity was given, there was no ATC as it. Now the matter has been ATC'd. So post the matter being ATC'd, it is only correct then that we are given clarity as to whether a vacancy has been declared. And actually a vacancy ought to be declared, and we ought to then be having a speaker, because at that stage the matter was not ATC'd.
Okay. So in terms of my position as Deputy Speaker, Honourable Sayed, I don't have the mandate to declare anything of such a nature. It would have to come through the Secretary in his new powers. All right, thank you very much. Over to you, Honourable Sayed.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Yes, no, indeed, we are not expecting you as the Deputy Speaker to in any way declare a vacancy. The mere fact that the Secretary has that power, the Secretary ought to be, and the Secretary is in the House. Yeah.
But the Secretary doesn't have that opportunity to make that decision now in the House, according to the order paper. So what I'm asking, may I finish? What I would like to suggest is we have given the power to the Secretary, allow the Secretary to take up that mandate in his right. I can't ask him to make that decision here in the House as the presiding officer. Honourable members, can I also just state that I'm here as the Deputy Speaker in terms of Rule 26, and that the House can continue as I am able to carry out, according to the rules, my job to finish the order paper for today. I don't have any other mandate other than that in this sitting. Yeah. Yes, Honourable Sayed. Okay, sorry, I was focusing on you. Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and good morning, honourable members. I think in terms of the motion, my understanding is that, which was carried, that the Secretary was given the powers to take necessary actions in regard to any legal challenge or where the legislature is summoned to appear or to defend any action, and that he is asked to then, and secondly, the power then to give reports, and thirdly, that for as long as the Speaker's position remains vacant, that he would take over the functions of receiving statutory and other information. But I think we have a challenge, which I think we must address in the best possible way. And that is that, as you've indicated, Deputy Speaker, you don't have the power to now act, right? The Secretary's functions here do not include the issue that Member Syed has raised. So it's very clear, and Member Nkonto dealt with that yesterday around Section 20 of our Constitution, which says that the Provincial Parliament must elect a Speaker from amongst its members at its first sitting or, when necessary, to fill a vacancy. So I think the clarity that we require, what is the process that we need to follow? Obviously, we have to contact the President of the Constitutional Court to designate a judge, but it seems that there's no direction coming now. So surely this House, because it says here that the House must elect, we're sitting here as this House, and we should deal with this matter and then possibly specifically pass a resolution to instruct the Speaker to contact, at least the Secretary, to contact the President of the Constitutional Court to designate a judge. So surely, you know, we can ask the whips that are here today, they have an opportunity to go and sit, and then to come to this House while we are sitting to pass such a resolution, because where else, given that we don't have a speaker and you don't have those powers, so I would suggest that we need to ask the whips to confer and to come back to the session so we can pass such a resolution, giving a mandate to the Secretary to actually do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Firstly, Deputy Speaker, because any such matter is not on the order paper for today, this House, in terms of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament rules, is only able to deal with matters that are on the order paper. Given that the resolution has passed and we've given the Secretary the powers, we need to allow the Secretary to do his respective job. And the reason that we cannot suspend for the whippery to meet in order for something like that to be considered today in terms of Rule 151 subsection 3 is that there needs to be unanimous, I repeat, unanimous concurrence of all the members present. No motion may be moved on the day on which notice is given. There are,
Honourable members,
to my knowledge,
Kondlo,
no motion has been given today.
Minute.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, honourable members, before can I respond? Honourable Kondlo, I'd like to respond. Honourable Kondlo. So, honourable members, I think firstly, Honourable Dugmore, give me a second. Honourable Dugmore is correct that I have no powers to do so. But just remember that that motion was only passed yesterday. And as if I remember, you finished at 7:30 p.m. Honourable members, you finished at 7:30 p.m. last night. I trust that the Secretary will communicate all relevant information as he is mandated to do in front of this House, and that he will communicate or take up the processes, which is only less than 24 hours after the motion was passed. So we do need to give him the space to be able to act in his mandate. He only got that yesterday, firstly. Secondly, I would like to just remind the House, and many of you have been here for many years, that the acting chief is quite correct that the order paper is the order paper, and that for 151.3, Honourable Syed or Honourable Lacquer as the whips are very clear about motions. So I am not able to make such a ruling, and nor can anybody else, because we have an order paper that has been approved and has to carry through the business of today. I have also, just to say, availed myself, and I would perhaps advise all of you, I've availed myself till 10 p.m. tonight. We will get through this order paper. It's a Friday evening. I'm free to be here in the House till 10 p.m., maybe later if we need to. But I'm fully mandated as a Deputy Speaker to run the House today in a sitting, and I will certainly do so. So I would ask that you all make arrangements, because we have to get through the order of the day. Honourable Dugmore, but I did see Honourable Khama, your hand was up, and then Honourable Dugmore. First, Honourable Dugmore, give me a second. Honourable Khama, sit for 1 second. Honourable Dugmore can take.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think there was an initial confusion, which we've later established that, in fact, whether that below-the-line motion of yesterday was adopted, but we are told that it was adopted. So okay. I'm moving from that basis. Now, the issue is the Chief Whip of the majority party just read out a particular rule there, which says that on the day of the sitting, if there's a unanimous support for that resolution, it can be tabled. So I'm not suggesting that we interrupt this program. What I'm suggesting is that we bring such a motion during the course of the day, and that we ask that motion be discussed, because surely there's no one in this House that would object to this House resolving to give the mandate to the Secretary to actually enact 20.1 and 2, which is to contact the court, designate a judge, and elect a speaker. My worry is that in terms of the limited powers that were given, in terms of the limited powers that were given to the Secretary, the Speaker is kind of the executive authority of the House. There are going to be many issues that need to be dealt with, and the House cannot proceed without a Speaker for a very long time. And I think it's in our interests to pass such a resolution, give that power and then elect a speaker next week.
So, Honourable Dugmore, before I take anybody else's hands, you have in your right in terms of rules of 151.1, 151.2 and 151.3 to bring a motion on the day. You may certainly act within your rights of the rules, and I cannot object to you doing so. But just Honourable Kama and then Honourable Said, and then I've seen Minister Mayor. So Honourable Kama, first to you. Have you been covered?
Yeah, I think I am covered, Deputy Speaker. The point really that one wanted to make is that we can't run the House like this. That we can't be surprised, because we were surprised here yesterday in the House as members of this House that we do not have a Speaker, as it was then later 80 seat. Okay. And now we are led to just sit in this House and not know what is happening with the position of the Speaker. Okay. And I think overall the point we're making is that all of us need to understand that we're not in a DA caucus here. We're in a provincial parliament, and we need to give it that respect, so that we're able to run this House and give it the decorum it deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honourable Said, are you covered, or can I move over? Are you covered? Thank you. Honourable Bartman, and then Honourable Minister Mayor.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I think, and extraordinary circumstances require bold leadership. We are sitting with a crisis. We don't have a Speaker. We don't have a Speaker.
Honourable
We also know the process around removal, that's fine, but we don't have a Speaker. As Honourable Kama says, this is not a DA caucus. To argue, because there's an argument now that was presented that the motion must come through the programming authority. There was a motion passed yesterday that didn't come through the programming authority. So that point becomes moot. But I think what's important for us to do is, given the crisis, given the fact that we're not finding each other, I don't see the harm in the House taking a decision and agreeing that as a matter of urgency, before we go any further, the whips must meet, and then let the House then agree to mandate the Secretary to immediately declare vacancy and make sure that we elect. The process must start with the election of the Speaker, and the DA must tell us. They're standing up here on a whole lot of the frivolous technicalities. They must tell us that they are not ready, because the internal factionalism is saying that they're not ready. They don't know whom they want as the Speaker. We have a Deputy Speaker. You have the choices to make. Make up your mind and don't hold the people of the Western Cape and into ransom.
Thank you very much. Honourable Bartman.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Firstly, Deputy Speaker, yesterday's motion was submitted in terms of notice of motion proceedings, in terms of Rule 151, subsection 2. The request in terms of precedence was given yesterday in the House in terms of Rule 20, subsection 2, in order to bring it above the line, which does not require programming authority if in terms of precedence, the House then agrees to give the respective motion, which was moved duly above the line. In terms of notice of motion proceedings, you have to bring a notice of motion in terms of the rules. That is 151, subsection 2. Should the ANC wish to bring a notice of motion for matters to be dealt with today in terms of Rule 151, subsection 3, we are more than happy for them to exercise their respective rights in terms of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament rules. However, Deputy Speaker, in terms of the order paper today, this is the order paper at 10 o'clock today, and we have not been asked we have not seen a notice of motion, and we have not been asked to move that respective notice of motion above the line, and therefore we need to continue with the order paper of the day. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable Minister Mayor, attention, order members, just give everybody the opportunity, please. Honourable Barnes.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, it is quite clear what is happening here now. This is a pretext of what has happened yesterday. So let us be clear that what the rule says and what governs these rules in terms of this matter before the House. I think the Honourable Deputy Chief Whip is correct that except with the unanimous concurrence, and this is Rule 151 subsection 3, that except with the unanimous concurrence, and she has read it and I am rereading it to all the members present, no motion may be moved on the day on which the notice thereof is given. The rules are clear, it cannot be, but as the Deputy Chief Whip has indicated, it can happen at a later stage, but not now. And so therefore we cannot and should not continue to disrupt the House, because then we disrupt the rules of the House. We have to act in terms of the rules. But above the rules is the Constitution.
Order, members.
And the Constitution is very clear. Section 20 of the Constitution, the Provincial Parliament must elect a Speaker from amongst its members, as the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition indicated, members at the first sitting after its election or when necessary to fill a vacancy. That is filling a vacancy. It's a process. It cannot be disengagement. So I ask you, the Deputy Chair, to proceed because of the rules that is clear and of a process that is described on which the Secretary will have to apply his mind and come back to the House. But it cannot be today. It's not on the order paper.
That's correct.
So may I, with due respect, Honourable Deputy Speaker, as the Leader of Government Business, propose that we continue with the order of business.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, I'm not going to entertain further. You know your rules. You may act well within the rules of the House. If you want to bring a motion, there is a sitting on Monday, and you may certainly do that within whatever rules it's allowed. But it's very clear. It's very clear. Honourable Said, you don't have to shout. You know I always recognise you. Honourable Said, you may stand up.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, on a point of order, we cannot conclude the matter just after the Leader of Government Business. We are not being run here by the Executive. There are members here, Honourable Lecker and Honourable Dugmore have got their hands up. I think it's only fair that their hands be entertained.
But we can also continue to raise the same frivolous points of order. We have to work within the rules. So, Honourable Dugmore, I will recognise you, but I have to start the order of the day.
Speaker, we have no intention not to proceed with this.
Okay.
We have no intention, Deputy Speaker, not to proceed with this. But
please may I ask your members to keep quiet?
Sorry. But it's a problem when the Leader of Government Business and the Chief Whip of the Majority Party selectively read from rules, because they did not read out 151(1)(a), which says that when giving notice of a motion, a member must read it aloud and deliver at the table a signed copy of the notice, delivered to the Secretary who's sitting with us here on any working day for placing on the order paper. Now, that means that technically there is nothing stopping us, except obviously if, and then I'll go on to 3, except with the unanimous concurrence of all the members, no motion may be moved on the day. So in practical terms, what we would like to suggest is that if we submit such a motion to the Secretary now, if it can happen, and then if there's unanimous, obviously if you vote, through the Deputy Speaker, if you vote against it, then it's not unanimous. But we are trying to make an argument that the motion that we are trying to submit would then give a specific...
Honourable members, I can't, it's your own side that's creating too much noise.
That would then give a specific mandate to the Secretary, because the mandate that the Secretary was given yesterday was a limited mandate. And surely if we formulate a motion in a way, and we want to bring that motion here in the course of this morning, which indicates that specific power, because we have a gap in our rules, so this is an unprecedented situation. So what I would just like to request that we proceed with the proceedings, and in the course of the morning, we will submit a motion to the Secretary in front of everyone. We can then, as a House, entertain that. If it's not unanimous, then clearly it's not unanimous.
So, Honourable Dugmore, I would just like to respond. Firstly, Honourable Dugmore, can you check that Honourable members, Can you just check that you have March of 2021 rules? You have the right ones. Okay. So I just want to, you're welcome to do, Honourable Dugmore. Rule 1 says, when giving notice of a motion, member must deliver to the secretary a signed copy of the notice on any working day for placing on the order paper. The order paper is already pre-populated. However, Honourable Dugmore, are you with me? He's reading. Honourable Dugmore, however, you may exercise your right as an opposition and go and put something on paper. Whether it is within the rules is another story, but it will have to be decided upon. In fact, you also may seek legal advice on the matter in terms of the interpretation of the rule. All right, so can we now proceed? I'm now going to move on. Honourable Bartman. Honourable Bartman. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make it clear and on the record from the Democratic Alliance side. If the ANC wishes to bring a notice of motion in terms of Rule 151, subsection 1 and subsection 2, it is their right. If they wish to ask a question in this House in terms of Rule 151, subsection 3, it is their right, and we will deal with the matter at that time. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you very much. Honourable Dugmore, can I ask? These are last two questions, and then we can proceed.
Sorry, Chairperson.
I can't hear. Honourable Nkondlu. Honourable Nkondlu, your own leader of your opposition cannot be heard. All right.
Comrades, I must, sorry, Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
I just must indicate that although it doesn't make a material difference, I don't want to give this House the wrong impression that what the first thing was actually March. But
I was
It's
wondering.
very clear from the March 21 rules.
Yes.
Exactly the same, that except with a unanimous concurrence when giving a notice, signed copy must deliver to the secretary, etc. So the content is exactly the same, but I just wanted to correct that. Thanks.
Okay. Honourable Lacker, can last point that I'm going to do. Yes, over to you, or hand is up.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I would want to rise on a point of order in reference to how the deputy or the acting chief whip has actually identified herself in this House, which is unprecedented. And tomorrow we will be then having a House that has a chief whip, a deputy chief whip of the House, a speaker and the deputy speaker of the House, who are no longer referred to as members of the House, but rather as members belonging to a particular political party in the South. Now, I shut up.
No. Honourable Lacker, no. Honourable Lacker, no. No. Honourable Lacker. 1 minute. Honourable Nkondlu, no. It's a point of order. Premier? No. Honourable Lacker, just 1 minute. Honourable, 1 minute, Honourable. Said I'm talking to her. Honourable Lacker, just 1 minute.
Point of order.
1 minute. I'd like you to withdraw that. Okay.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I rise on a point of order on the statement made now by the Chief Whip of the ANC. She said to use the word that is not parliamentary.
Yeah.
Can you also rule that what she said now is unparliamentary?
Chair, point of order. It's a procedure.
You are biased. Why are you allowing him? But they were shouting on our chief.
Honourable Mayor and the DA do not have free privilege in the House. He cannot just stand up when he's not being recognized and speak.
Yes,
He
but I
should have
recognize
first
him.
sat down, put up his hand. He's been in this House for long. I mean, I remember him 2009 already. He's been here. He's supposed to sit down.
You allow the DA members to speak as they wish to our chief whip and our members. You allow
You have
them.
not been recognized. Please put your microphone.
Our chief whip, when she responds, she's wrong. You are biased.
Right. Honourable Lacker, would you mind rising, please? Honourable Lacker? Honourable Lacker, would you mind rising, please? So can I just have order in the House, please? Before anybody stood up, Honourable Lecker knows, I just ask him to withdraw. That's all. We know that the word shut up is unparliamentary. It doesn't matter who says it, and it doesn't matter who rises on it. Please, Honourable Lecker. Honourable Lecker, you would not appreciate that either. If I could
draw
ask.
chair, but those two must keep quiet.
Okay, will you
When
withdraw?
someone
Thank
is
you very
speaking,
much.
they must keep quiet.
All right, thank you very much. Can we proceed to the first order of the
Thank you.
day? I now call on to vote. I've
So,
accepted
my
your
point of
My
order-
hand is up. My hand is up, Deputy Speaker. My hand is up.
Honourable Baku Force, can you please mute Honourable Baku Force? She's not recognized.
Chair, you asked me to
Yes.
withdraw the word
Yes.
shut up.
Yes.
And not my point of order that I
Okay,
was reading
what's
in
your
this
point
house.
of order? So I just asked you to withdraw the word.
I return when.
No, Honourable Lecker, focus on me, please.
No, that one must just be ordered.
No, Honourable Lecker, I can't entertain that if there's a point of order.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think it's going to be important that members of the executive behave as members of the executive and in an honourable way.
Thank you.
Or otherwise, I will match that attitude of his.
Thank you, Honourable
Thank
Lecker.
you.
We don't need any more rulings on this matter. I trust that we can now begin. Honourable Dugmore, you are well in with your rights as the leader of the position or as whips to exercise your request as per what you've stated in the House. Can I proceed,
Yeah.
Honourable Lecker? Or you
Yourself
want
or me?
No, I said if yourself as whips, as whip of the opposition, or Honourable Dugmore with regards to his request around a motion. Okay.
No, thank you, Chair. I was actually not going to speak on what Cameron has spoken to.
Okay.
I'm speaking with regards to an unprecedented way that members of the Democratic Alliance have started. It's a trend since 2019 up until today still. Members are elected to be a chief whip of the House and not a chief whip of a particular political party in the House. It's very unprecedented and it leaves a bitter taste. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I now would like to proceed to the debate on vote 1 with the Premier. The Secretary will read the first order of the day. Honourable Said, can we end?
Yeah, no, this
Okay.
is not on this particular topic.
perfect.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and it is relating to what the Secretary is about to read out. Now, I'm not sure whether, as the ANC, we got the wrong end of the stick, but my query is regarding what I see here on the orders of the day with regards to the speaking times. In the particular programming committee or programming authority meeting, I asked and double checked, because like I asked with the second reading debate, does the ANC get 24 minutes? Yes. Does the ANC get 8 minutes? Yes. But now I see the ANC is given 16 minutes. I would like to query that. I think that because that now gives that we would have been able to prepare much more had we known that we are given the 16 minutes. In the programming authority, we're given 8 minutes, and we communicated that to our team. So that I think needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, after the Programming Authority meeting, I received the procedural advice that it actually does need to be 16 minutes. Yesterday, when the communication went out regarding the speakers list, I did check and the minutes for every party was correct yesterday when the speakers list went out before today's sitting to make sure that that is specifically on there.
Thank you very much. And remember that that was decided in the Program Authority. That's totally a programmable process. Members, can I begin Program 1? Honourable Syed.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I just want to, firstly, I want to preempt and indicate that we're not being difficult. And
Okay.
it's not, we saw last week we cooperated with yourself.
Yeah.
It's not that one is questioning the manner in which you are chairing and that we want to just, things must be done properly. Obviously, what we see here, this did not happen earlier in the year, this type of mess up or other years. So it's not that we are being partisan, and it's not a particular blame being placed on the acting chief whip. It's a reflection of the instability of the Democratic Alliance, and it's now impacting on a simple thing like speaking times. Now, Honorable Deputy Speaker, according to the admission here of the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip or Acting Chief Whip, Programming Authority, the idea from Programming Authority is that the speaking times were different to what we have here now. There was a consultation made, of course, but we were not consulted, we were not informed as political parties who are part of the Programming Authority that the speaking times have been changed. So I'm proposing that we go back to the original speaking times that was agreed upon in the Programming Authority. It's not going to make a big difference. In fact, there were already members, Member van der Westhuizen, I think Member Mackenzie, it's a pity Member Mackenzie is not here, who were actually arguing for even less time than the original that was put there. So I don't see how on the Democratic Alliance side it's going to be a problem. Thank you.
Honourable Chief Whip, Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, because I, in general, do not want to go against procedural advice, which is why we corrected it. However, if the members wish to speak less, the Democratic Alliance is amenable to making the speaking time less.
Okay, so can we agree on that, Honourable Said?
Honourable Deputy Speaker, two things. Firstly, before I respond to that, the Honourable Baku Force has had a hand up, and she's not being recognized. I just want to put that there, that it's important that she be recognized and be given an opportunity. She's online. Number two, yes, it must not be viewed as a favor, but if, and I think this is how we do, in a sense, also resolve matters. After we've debated, that then if we will then reduce it if the Democratic Alliance is amenable, as the Deputy Chief Whip has indicated. We reduce the speaking times going back to the original format. Thank you very much, but please do recognize the Honourable Baku Force.
I don't see any further hands up. Honourable Baku Force, is your hand up?
Yes, my hand was up, Deputy Speaker, then, while the members of the other side were shouting on our Chief Whip, and you pointed on our Chief Whip not to speak like that in Parliament, but you let the Democratic Alliance members of Parliament to speak as they wish to us and our Chief Whip. You must stop being biased. You will not control Parliament if you are doing that. That's what I wanted to say.
What's your point of order? Right, thank you. We will now proceed. I will ask the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Vote 1, Premier, Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, I recognise the Honourable Premier Wendy.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Can I say to the honourable members of this House, Cabinet, the Leader of the Opposition and members, it is a great opportunity to be able to address you on the Adjustment Appropriation Vote 1 for the 2022-23 year. Can I say that I think that this has been a challenging year. It has been a challenging year, obviously, for the citizens of our province, as well as the citizens of our country, but globally, I think it has been a challenging year. If I think back to the adjustments appropriation just 1 year ago, we would have all been online, or very few of us in the House. We were just about to be red listed, and once again, our economy taking further pounding. And of course, since then, we've had various knocks to our economy, to jobs, to citizens' ability to put food on their table, reaching far and wide. We've seen the Russian invasion of the Ukraine and the impact that that's had on citizens here in our province. The price of food has gone up in this province because of a war happening on the other side of the world. We've also seen the impact of excessive and more load shedding across our country. What that does to our economy has been devastating. And of course, at the end of the day, when it affects our economy, it affects every single citizen's ability to live a life that they value. Just looking at food inflation and what that has done to families here in our province, let alone our country. Just having a look at how many businesses are unable to operate when you go above load shedding level 4. And the outlook, I'm sorry to say, for the next year is even more bleak. If you look at the report from Eskom, which saw double the load shedding in South Africa this year as to last year, and they are all saying that next year is going to be worse. And that does not bode well for the citizens of this province. It really, really is putting so much pressure on every single person. I think that our job here is to understand those pressures and to make sure that while understanding those pressures on our citizens, that we make decisions both in the province as well as in South Africa to find hope within this environment. And this department and this department's budget needs to make sure that we deliver tangible results to demonstrate and show residents that we are capable of governing and of making that difference. We continue to put our citizens at the center of all of the work that we do, whether it be here in Parliament or whether it be in our respective day-to-day jobs as government and as opposition. In our government, we will continue to focus on our 3 main areas of recovery going in to this new difficult economic environment. We will continue to focus on safety. And I must say that and I know that this will be discussed in the safety vote, but I want to say to Minister Regan Allen and to his team, thank you and well done. You know that the safety plan is a 10-year plan. It's interesting to see quarter after quarter after quarter when the crime results come out, that we can see a reduction in murder numbers in those targeted areas. When I look at the latest numbers and I see that in our targeted areas like Atlantis, a 25% reduction compared to the 2021 results. If I look at Bishop Laver, 6.7, Gugulethu, 16.3, Harare, 3.6, Khayelitsha, 9.4, on top of the 14% that we saw in the last quarter. Kraaifontein, 15.6%, on top of the 16% we saw in the last quarter. And Mfuleni, a 32.4% reduction. Obviously, this is the start of the safety plan, and the real focus has got to come now on prevention. We've got to get to the prevention space. But of course, those will be discussed in those budgets of the various ministers and departments that are focusing on prevention as part of the safety plan. Jobs as well. I think inflation and the effect that that's having on our citizens, as I've already outlined, is massive. But in this place of hope, if I look at the double-digit growth figures that we've seen in agriculture, and I know this Minister May has just slipped out, but also thank you to that team on what they have achieved, how they have aided and helped this sector. Double-digit growth numbers in this environment is unbelievable. If I think about other sectors in our economy, the tech sector, and I think about the growth and opportunity that comes out, that is in our jobs environment. And I think, as the Minister said yesterday, you can see those signs of growth and the promise of a really good festive season, holiday season, tourism industry coming back, the 192 direct flights this season per week to our airport. If I think about the tech sector and the fintech sector and the growth, I think about fintech, I think about the Stellenbosch Fibers companies, I think about Marlon Parker and building a head office of a global company now in the midst of Mitchell's Plain, which really is amazing to see. So those signs of growth and jobs, that's about hope. And that really does give me hope. And of course, then as a government, dignity and well-being. And what does this department mean to enabling our various departments so that we can deliver dignity and well-being to our citizens? This is where the most money is spent in our government, and within this department, making sure that we are supporting through .P from data, from ICT, tech, across the board, making sure that we are supporting all of our priorities. We will remain under significant pressure going forward, and we must take a sober look at our budgetary priorities to ensure that they speak to addressing the harsh realities that many of our people face every single day. Exacerbating our economic position of the ongoing and worsening energy crisis that I have spoken about. And that's why I've put together what we call an Energy Council, how we bring each and every one of those departmental role players together so we can put more urgency into the system. I must also say that for me, it was really an interesting week this week where Premier Zamani Saul and I managed to sign our MOU and agreement between the Northern Cape and the Western Cape as part of the Green Hydrogen Conference that took place. But I must give recognition to the administration, to the Director General in .P, the team from the Western Cape government as administrators, the time that they have spent in Kimberley in the Northern Cape working on this agreement. I must say to the Premier in the Northern Cape, thank you very much to your officials who have spent time with our officials making sure that we are creating an enabling environment so that the two provinces and Namibia can start to work together on this massive challenge that the world has, which is targets for 2030 and 2050, green decarboning targets that we are setting. Making sure that we are focusing now on the grid system, or perhaps taking the agreement that we've just managed to put together between ArcelorMittal, Sasol, and the free port of Saldanha, enabling an economic future. So gratitude to the role that .P have played and all of our officials, but also to every single one of those officials across our department, and specifically in economic development, that have really spent a lot of time trying to enable this energy security for our future. And the role that is going to play, which is a long-term play, but on enabling the grid system now so that we can actually bring in the new energy players that are being procured or are tendering at the moment. I want to say that at the same time, this department, .P, I had a meeting with the top management yesterday, and it was really great to have that meeting at the Desmond and Leah Tutu Foundation's building down at the old granary here in town. And in the discussion that we had there, talking about the decisions that we make, I was thinking about the Arch and what the Arch would be saying had he been sitting in our meeting, in our deliberations. And at the end of the day, I'm confident that the track that we are on in this department and in this government, when we are looking at inwardly at our own value system and how we behave as a government, because if you don't get your culture right within your government, how do you expect to be improving the delivery of your service to your clients? That we base all of our decisions on our values of innovation, caring and competence, accountability, integrity and responsiveness. That we do this every single day. And so that was really, I think, something that had good meaning for our top management team. I also want to say thank you to them for continually receiving a clean audit. And that brings me, Madam Deputy Speaker, to the adjustment budget. This is an adjustment budget, which is a downward budget of 19.998 million rand. It's around 1% of our total budget, 1.8 billion. And it is a downward adjustment because, as I said in the beginning, we've got to make responsible judgment calls on how we spend our money in this department and this government that's in the best interests of our citizens. I heard yesterday in the political debate on the adjustments where people are saying we need to actually take every cent that we've got and spend it right now. Well, quite frankly, that would be the wrong thing to do. We've learned over years in this government We must always put some money away. We call it for a rainy day in our families or in our households. In this government, we do exactly the same thing. I've just said or spoken about the load shedding impact on the citizens of this province in the year to come, what it's going to do to our economy. What we are seeing with the pressure on just the cost of employment and increasing salaries and wages, and our inflation rate is going to be continually climbing over the next while. We must prepare for those extra expenses that are coming so that we can be a responsible government delivering services to our citizens going into the future. You will see in these adjustments that we are putting money into the safety plan. We will be transferring money across to departments where we are making sure that this apex priority is delivered, and putting money towards the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport. And this goes to what I spoke about, the violence prevention side of the safety plan. We've got to make sure that we are getting to those young boys and girls in our family, in our communities that are being attracted by gangs, that are being pulled out of school time, that are truant, and we've got to get them back into those systems. We've got to bolster our after-schools programs. We've got to make sure that we do that. Madam Speaker, does one of the members want to ask me a question?
Honourable Karma, you stand up if you wanted to raise a point of order, did you? Okay, are you just heckling?
Oh, he's just heckling.
He's just heckling.
People need to heckle with a bit more clarity, otherwise I can't answer them. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Funds are also being rolled over from the 2021-22 year to enable the citizen-centric culture journey that I've just spoken about, making sure that we are enabling our own staff. You know, they always say you've got to start with yourselves if you really want to go to the next level of service, and that is the process that we are busy with. We are building a modern province, so must keep pace with the demands and expectations that come with it. Funds are being rolled over for ICT-related services in the Department of Health to further modernize and improve the healthcare system. And there I must say to the Health Department, congratulations on winning the South African Innovation Award for the Hectus program that is now rolled out to 27 of our hospitals that monitors violence. The only province in South Africa that can do it, and well done to every single one of those officials, those doctors, those scientists, and those data people who have given us that ability. Yes, absolutely, I think it's valuable to give them that applause. And a program that we developed and used so extensively during the pandemic. And when I say we, not only this province, South Africa used that system to determine waves and impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I also want to say that there will be funds to continue with the refresh process, making sure that by the 1st of April, the new departments of Public Works and Transport are modernized into the Department of Infrastructure and the Department of Mobility, and that we continue to support this space, because obviously in South Africa we know that infrastructure is what is letting us down as a country, whether it be energy infrastructure, whether it be rail infrastructure, whether it be ports infrastructure. It is infrastructure. And I hasten to say, or hesitate to say, water infrastructure. People are going to ask us when the next day zero comes, what have you done between then and now? Where is the Clan William Dam? We really have to start focusing on infrastructure over and above what we do at the moment, and pushing boundaries far more than we've ever pushed before. The same thing with mobility. How do people get to work? We know the poorest of the poor spend 40% of their salary, if they have a job, on transport. That has to change. We've got to get mobility right. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to say that for me, this adjustment is a small adjustment. We really work hard at making sure that we manage the funds in this government responsibly in the best interests of the citizens of this province. I want to say to the Director General and to the full team in .P, thank you for the role that you play and the hours that you put in. I can assure you that officials in this government go far way and beyond their normal expected time that they put in the interests of this government and of the citizens of this province. It doesn't go unnoticed. And I want to thank them for that energy, for what they do every single day when they come to work. And so this I want to submit is an adjustment that's responsible and an adjustment that's in the best interests of the citizens of this province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. I now recognise Honourable Doug Moore.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Order.
Deputy Speaker, vote 1 and the adjustment budget is not just about a set of numbers. The Premier started off his speech reflecting on the kind of year that we've had and the challenges. And we need to note that the vote is there and the adjustment is there, but actually this adjustment is also a reflection on the leadership or the lack of leadership that has been provided by the Premier to this province. It's interesting that the Premier mentions the issue of load shedding and the initiatives such as the Energy Council to develop an integrated approach. But I think if we are honest, Deputy Speaker, up to now, all that we have seen is the investment of millions of public funds into consultants who have been doing work at a local government level. But if we are honest, those initiatives of this province have not produced 1 megawatt of power. So we would like you, when you respond, Premier, can you tell us from the money that the provincial government has allocated to all these municipalities, and that's what I'm talking about specifically, has the Stellenbosch municipality, how much have they received and how many megawatts have they produced? I think that's what we need. So let's, I'm not saying in a sense that we want to dismiss the notion of the need to develop energy resilience, but let's not spin things. Let's not create a perception which is not based on reality. Then, Premier, you also spoke about the issue of the reduction of crime. But what is always strange to me is that when the Premier and also MEC Allen mentioned this issue, they do not tell the House and tell the public about the deployment of extra SAPS resources to those very areas that they mention. Because the reality is we can argue about the impact of the LEAP officers and what's been attached and the integrated holistic approach, but it's just not honest when you don't mention that the South African police have specifically also allocated additional resources to those. So I think we need to start moving beyond this petty notion of sort of claiming victories, but not being honest about the fact that despite the problems in the SAPS, there has been a genuine effort which has resulted in the real deployment of extra resources. And to be honest, the safety plan, still this House has not been provided with actually what constitutes a plan. In other words, who is doing what by when. We've got who's doing what. We've got a list of what the different MECs are supposed to do, but there's no information about how much resource is attached to that, where the infrastructure improvement is going, in a tangible what a tangible safety plan and an operational plan would involve. And I hope that our members, and I'm not sure if this House has noticed that because of our specific interest also in rural safety, Deputy Speaker, we've actually decided to ask Member Bunce to specifically deal with the safety portfolio, and we have got many reasons why we are asking our young lion, Honourable Member Kama, to deal specifically with sport and recreation and the whole areas of youth. So that committee actually needs to engage in an operational plan. I welcome through this, Deputy Speaker, Honourable the Premier's reference to Marlon Parker.
Order.
I welcome that reference because I do think what someone like Marlon Parker has done, initiating the R Labs, in Athlone, and where he has taken that to is a very important example to raise. And I think that the province really needs to celebrate that. But at the same time, we would love it in the Premier, in his role as leading this province, would also be vocal and active about issues that Member Nkondlo has been raising around the township economy, in particular, the problems which emerged regarding the Pick and Pay investment into the townships. These are the issues that we must look at. What are the successes? What are the failures? But I think I was disappointed, Deputy Speaker, that in his introductory words here today, the Premier did not go into more detail around the COE issues, not only as they affect the Department of the Premier, but many other departments who have failed to fill posts. Now, clearly, we are not going to utilize those funds for the rest of the financial year. And given the critical importance of public employment to bring relief, I would like the Premier to respond, and I asked the same issue through to the MEC for Finance yesterday. Why did the Premier, as the leader of this province, not utilize the savings on cost of employment to actually push into public employment schemes? Because the reality is that the only public employment schemes that are working in this province are those which are funded and provided by the national government, EPWP, the CWP, the initiative that the President took to support schools. So we see an investment in LEAP officers, but we don't actually see provincial money from the equitable share being used to advance public employment. We are also happy that there has been an agreement between the Northern Cape and the Western Cape, and when the ANC was governing this particular province, which was up until 2009, it was a while ago.
Order.
The ANC, Deputy Speaker, actually got 46% of the vote, you would recall, and we worked with the new National Party in a coalition which actually delivered in this Western Cape, had lower unemployment than we currently have now. Which is the truth. So what I'm trying to say, in those days we had what we refer to as the Cape Corridor, actually working with the provincial governments of both the Eastern Cape as well as the Northern Cape, because we would all recall that this very building where we are standing in used to be the center of the old CPA, and there are many connections between the people of the Northern Cape, the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape. And for instance, we are not hearing enough, Premier, when you talk about mobility, what are the strategies to ensure that people of our province would be able to be mobile, to move via train to the Eastern Cape on a Friday and be able to then, come back, for instance. We know that there are people coming to our province from Gauteng, they're coming from the Northern Cape, and so on, and we should actually welcome that. So we want to ask the Premier to take seriously what the ANC had started, which was actually to build the Cape Corridor. Yes, it was a very important
10 seconds,
initiative.
Honourable Dugmore.
What's it?
10 seconds.
Beg your pardon?
10 seconds left.
But I thought, so. No, he didn't. He was pointing out the realities of a decision that was made and not communicated properly. So I will then. So you're actually ruling that my time has expired.
I am, because there we go. Honourable Syed is correct.
My time has expired. So these are the things that we need to look at, and that is why, in conclusion,
finish off.
Deputy Speaker, we cannot support this vote because it is not actually utilizing those savings made to actually ensure that the Khayelitsha Hospital, for instance, gets money over and above investment into a technology which is not meeting the needs of the people.
Thank you very much.
The full speech will be provided.
Thank you. I now recognize Honourable Klego. You're online?
Yes, Deputy Speaker.
You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the EFF welcomes the adjusted appropriation. to the Department of the Premier and the reduction of more than 19 million rand. This is the same Premier who, during the State of the Province address, promised people in this province that poverty and unemployment will be a thing of the past. Since then, the opposite has become an entrenched status quo. Deputy Speaker, under the Premier's leadership, we are still witnessing a provincial economy that is battling to recover from the effects of COVID-19. The so-called recovery plan that was preached about is still a plan which cannot be fulfilled because the Premier is running a failed provincial government which cannot provide people with meaningful, decent jobs that will change their lives and lift them out of the poverty line. Just last week, during the two-day taxi protest, a foreign telecommunications company operating in this town, which is called Capita, made its employees to sleep on the floors of the company just to make sure that it does not lose profits. This is the kind of treatment that is akin to slavery, and of which we expect that the Premier would speak a volume for such kind of treatment of workers in a province that is presiding over. This is the kind of entrepreneurs that the DA-led government attracts when it says its job is to create an enabling environment for job opportunities, as it is not the duty of government to create jobs. Once you outsource the responsibility of job creation to white monopoly capital, we see such kind of treatment of our people. This government attracts this kind of entrepreneurs who have no regard for employees' well-being, and they have no respect for employment rules of this country. And yet the Premier would stand up and say nothing about such kind of treatment. Deputy Speaker, conduct crime and sexual-related crimes are forever increasing in this province under the Premier's leadership. Our health facilities cannot provide patients.
Your time is up. Thank you
very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. I now recognize Honourable Member Fry.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the budget for the Department of the Premier has been adjusted to 1.805 billion rand. The mission of the department is to enable and lead a capable Western Cape government by institutionalizing a culture of innovation and collaboration for improved services for the people of the Western Cape. This budget, although adjusted downwards from 1.825 billion rand, seeks to support that mission, especially in advancing the cause of providing access to broadband facilities to the people of the Western Cape, thereby creating opportunities for employment and small business development. Deputy Speaker, the following should be noted. 2.5 million rand was rolled over from the 2021-2022 financial year for enabling a citizen-centric culture. This empowers the Western Cape government to ensure that all available resources are placed to foster an environment where citizens are at the center of governance. Examples of this culture is the First Thursdays initiative, where the entire government is placed at the disposal of the citizens here in Wells Street in order to attend to any issues that they may have. Further developments on this model include taking First Thursdays to the people, which will be shared in due course. It is also important to note that through the Western Cape government, the department has done the following. 1, it has provided a highly capable workforce, creating an enabling workplace and developed leadership that has enabled employee engagement and optimal service delivery, primarily through embarking on a culture journey with all employees, including introducing all new staff to the senior management team. 2, it has optimized service delivery in the Western Cape government through the coordinated implementation of innovative information and communication technologies. 3, it has transformed governance, resulting in improved service delivery. And 4, it has improved public service perception by promoting and protecting the Western Cape government brand and coordinating communication messaging to ensure that the vision-inspired priorities of the Western Cape government are communicated effectively to the people of the Western Cape. Deputy Speaker, the Wi-Fi sites and the Centres for E-Innovation across the province have facilitated internet access to countless citizens of the Western Cape. Expenditure for the first 6 months of this financial year amounted to 617 million rand. The adjusted budget for this initiative is 1.2 billion rand, which is a decrease from the main budget of 1.245 billion rand, or 1.1%. 548 million has been allocated towards connected government and infrastructure services. There were oversight visits to the Wi-Fi centres Wi-Fi sites and the Center of E-Innovation in Grootskeer and Observatory in order to ascertain the functionality of these sites. This committee gained first-hand experience on how systems operate from a health, education, and environmental viewpoint, as well as the capabilities made possible for citizens through public Wi-Fi access. It was also communicated that the State Information and Technology Agency, or SITA, is implementing a 10-year broadband program on behalf of the Western Cape government, along with its partner, Liquid Intelligent Technologies. Further to this, during a parliamentary oversight visit to the Bito municipality, the committee visited the KwaNokutula and New Horizons e-centers, which are part of the Cape Access program. These centers offer services such as typing and printing, job and business research information, school and job applications, and basic e-skills training. The facilities currently have an average of 60 user sessions per day and already boasts many success stories of people who have used the center to study and find work opportunities. The offerings to the community include soft skills computer training, assistance with research for school projects, setting up email accounts, SIRA renewals for security officers, and SARS registrations for job seekers. In a previous media release, I've stated that the partnership between various actors, including the Bito municipality, the Expanded Public Works Program, and Youth for Change, has made these facilities a ray of hope for the people of KwaNokutula and New Horizons, who have taken advantage of the valuable resources and upskilled themselves. These e-centers continue to demonstrate the Western Cape government and local municipalities' commitment to educating residents in essential ICT skills so that they may become self-reliant and compete in the employment market. I wish to reiterate that these centers are shining lights in the Bito area and catalysts for growth and opportunity in their respective communities as they provide access to information and services that stimulate growth and opportunity. Deputy Speaker, we live in an uncertain time, where the prospect of growth sits at an all-time low, and nationally, leadership in the executive is at an unprecedented state of flux. The focus of the Western Cape Recovery Plan, however, is putting the province on track for growth and opportunity. The three pillars of the plan, namely safety, jobs, and dignity and well-being, are constantly being worked on to realize the mission of institutionalizing a culture of innovation and collaboration for improved services to the people of the Western Cape. As per the latest statistics in the quarterly labor force survey published a few days ago, the Western Cape's expanded unemployment figures are 13.6 percentage points lower than the national average, with nearly 85,000 jobs created. To further gear the government for growth and job creation, the Departments of Infrastructure and Mobility will be established on 1 April 2023. That being said, we still have a long way to go to ensure that everyone has opportunity to better themselves. With regard to safety, the introduction of the LEAD program in the city of Cape Town has helped realize the goal of halving the murder rate in the next 10 years. The question that must be asked, though, is why do we need the LEAD program? The answer is very simple: the constant failings of SAPS in this province. I'm sure Member Bosman will further elaborate on this in his speech. At this time, I wish to thank the members of the committee for the cordial manner in which we conducted our business. I'd also like to thank the procedural officer, Mrs. Wasima Kamish Ahmad, for her expert guidance, as well as Dr. Malida and his team in the department. In closing, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the department's efforts in fostering growth by creating access to information and communication must be applauded, and I look forward to seeing the department continue on its current course. The DS supports this vote.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. I now recognise Honourable Premier Wendy.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and thank you very much to all of the members of this House that took part in this debate. I will start off with the Honourable Chairperson. First of all, thank you, Chair. Thank you for those words. Thank you for the way in which you chair the committee and the support through this process. It is appreciated and valued. Thank you. Just to highlight one or two areas that you spoke about and maybe add to it, I think the Cape Access Centres, agreed, they offer massive opportunity to people who ordinarily would not be able to have access to look for a job, to increase their ability to do research for homework, to run their small businesses. And every one of those Cape Access Centres that you visit, you come across unbelievable South Africans who are making use of this rollout. Of course, for me, you want to roll it out faster, quicker, and we've also got to be nimble in understanding what the next phase of broadband is going to be like. Is it going to be broadband cables that are laid under the ground, or is it going to come from satellites? And we've got to be nimble. And there again, I really want to recognize the USA and the USAID and how they help this province in so many various ways, but specifically in the 20 million rand that they've given us to do that study on enabling and checking what we are doing, and are we getting ready for the next change or leap into the future. You also mentioned First Thursdays, and perhaps there I must also thank, first of all of the officials and the ministers who give up their time on a Thursday, a first Thursday of every month. This is not overtime or anything like this. This is extra that they give to citizens. And still, as far as I know, there is no other government in the world that does that. And it is unique, and it is amazing to be able to engage with citizens, enable them to bring their ideas, enable them to bring their problems, because that shows us that we, in that engagement, are checking on what we are doing. Is it giving the relevant results that our citizens need? The Honourable Klecho, I'm sorry that you didn't have that much time, but again, speaking about crime, speaking about strike action, the impact thereof, and of course, I'm always the proponent to say, why don't we rather sit around the table, have discussions before we end up by blocking the economy, causing further job delays, and then, of course, on crime. I think it's evident that safety is something that I am really passionate about, because I know it is so damaging to so many of our citizens. Then to the Honourable Dugmore, thank you very much. You raised many issues, and I'm going to see if I can give you as much as possible, but let's start with what we want to call is EPWP. Well, you're incorrect. So this province added another 316 million rand for 2022 to the money that we do get from national. So you're incorrect. We add extra funding to it. We can get it all to you if you want. It's across the board. Then when it comes to
Premier,
energy,
if you could just take your seat, please. There's a point of order. Honourable Said, what's your
Honourable
point of order?
Deputy Speaker, with respect, the Honourable Premier cannot say to the Honourable Dugmore, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to him. Thank you.
Honourable Said. Okay. Premier, you may proceed.
I don't know how that English works, but to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I assure you I will give it to him.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get that. But anyway.
Members.
So the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is incorrect, and we will send him the detail of the programs across all of our departments. He also spoke about mobility, and it is critical that we get mobility right. I agree with him, because of the absolute failure, specifically of the backbone of any mobility system anywhere in the world should be the train system. And where the bulk of citizens live in the city of Cape Town, who should be relying on a cost-effective, safe, reliable transport system, the ANC have destroyed it. It is damaged beyond repair, not only in the Western Cape, but across our whole country. Across our whole country. And not only people moving, because that's mobility of people, but mobility of goods and services. Do you know that how they've wrecked the system in trade? The Durban port should be shipping to the hub of the economy of our country, which is Gauteng, should be shipping in excess of 20 trains a day. We're lucky if 3 or 4 work at the moment per day. In actual fact, this government, run by the ANC in South Africa, are putting more energy into creating a border post between South Africa and Mozambique so goods and services can travel by road and truck through to the port in Namibia, in Mozambique, more than getting our own ports fixed. It is unbelievable. So, of course, we need to be focusing on mobility. That's why we're creating a mobility department. That's why the Minister of Mobility needs to have a look at what can we do within the constrained environment of the ANC. What can we do to help the citizens find better mobility, find more efficient or cost-effective and safe mobility? Then when it comes to policing and the policing numbers. So in actual fact, in the policing numbers, in the Western Cape, we have less SAPs at 70% of the stations than we had 10 years ago. Those glorious days of the ANC National Party coalition in this province. Today, SAPs and the ANC are delivering to the citizens of this province 70% less manpower. 70%, can you believe it? So in accordance to SAPs themselves, the ideal number SAPs members at station level should be 195,000 members. However, the actual amount is 105,000 members. Do you know that every time the Minister of Police stands up and he says, look, we're giving you another 1,000 members, but he forgets that 1,200 retired, resigned, were murdered, all sorts of other, because we are going backwards at a rate of knots under the ANC management.
Premier, just take your seat, please. Honourable Dugmore, I recognise you.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I just would like to ask whether the Premier would accept a question.
Premier will accept a question, Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Premier, my question is the following, that in the targeted areas where there are so-called crime hotspots, do you concede that additional police resources in the last 12 months have been allocated to some of those targeted areas where crime levels have reduced?
Over to you, Premier.
I will concede that to some areas, some policing officers have been added, because absolutely, that is exactly what we are doing. We are taking provincial resources and adding it to the SAPS numbers in these target areas to make that difference. But I promise you, those numbers, those population ratio numbers, are not being corrected. They are not being corrected the way that they should be corrected. The police stations are not being built in those hotspot areas where they should be built. Do you know that, I don't know how many times they've made a promise of a police station in Philippi. And it was supposed to have started, I think 3 times in the last 3 years, they sort of started construction. I had a one-on-one meeting with the police commissioner yesterday. And you cannot believe how frustrated he is. But of course, we want to really work with the police. We have to work with the police to find these solutions. Unfortunately, what is happening is the political management of the police is non-existent. And the resourcing from Pretoria does not resource adequately to deal with the crime levels. So I can say to the Honourable Dugbo, yes, I concede in some areas a few more police officers may have been deployed. But overall, when you look at the crime hotspot areas, which I'm holding up here, and the 30 top police murder hotspots, it is not just in the Western Cape. Across South Africa, it is the same picture, which shows that at a national level, policing and the police management is what is unacceptable. That's why we need devolution of power of policing, decision making, because I promise you, already what we've seen makes a difference. It is not making any difference anywhere else in any other province in South Africa. Every time they put the crime statistics out, it gets worse. Every single province, murder rate, gender-based violence, just general crime, just gets worse province by province. And statistics don't lie. At the end of the day, there is only one province where we are seeing some change, a start to get to a change. It never gets recognized by this side of the House. They turn a blind eye to it because they are too afraid to own up to their own massive failure as a national government. And following on from the policing numbers and what the Honourable Dugmore was saying, the police report and the report that comes to the Standing Committee deals with all of these areas.
Order, members.
With murder in LEAP areas, LEAP operation and deployment by quarter. It talks about the searches on every single area of those hotspot areas where these policing, extra policing is being made. The number of liquor-related actions, the number of hotspot patrols and operations, the firearms and domestic violence visits, the homicides per week, and what the types of homicides are. The top homicide precincts, the top homicide precinct year to date, the priority areas week 47 and 48. This is just the high-level report, and it goes page after page.
Order.
You do not get anything near this.
Honourable Nkondlu. Honourable Nkondlu. Honourable members, please. Thank you. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you very much. And then, so that's policing. So then the Honourable Member spoke about energy. And of course, just as important
Take your
as
seat,
safety
Honourable Premier,
is,
please. Thank you. What's your point of order, Honourable Said?
Is the Honourable Premier, as he did with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, is he willing to take a question?
yes, of course.
You may proceed.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the Honourable Premier for accepting to take. Is the Honourable Premier in support, given what he has said about the liquor sales and the dangers? Does the Honourable Premier not view it as problematic that the Western Cape government, and particularly Department of Education, is permitting the sale of alcohol at our schools, particularly schools in the most vulnerable of communities?
Thank you very much for that question. I would ask the Honourable Said to bring me every single school that he's talking about that does sell alcohol and the reason why it happened, because I guarantee you that those governing bodies in those schools have not given the permission.
Thank you.
You can't ask a question and then not accept the answer, Honourable Member.
Order,
Well,
members.
both of you ask silly questions.
Order,
and then
members. Focus on me, Premier. You may proceed.
I'll wait for that question, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, so then when it comes to energy, and of course, aside from crime and what crime does to our citizens, energy is the next biggest crippling activity that takes place in our country, which is, again, just as policing, an absolute show of ANC failure. I mean, you know, under the ANC's rule in the last 28 years, you can just about take almost everything that they have to do as a government, and you can tick every single box as a failure. It is just unbelievable. And the impact of energy is now really taking us right down to the bottom of the doldrums when it comes to any chance of jobs and economic growth into the future. So then he asks questions about what the plan has delivered and what we have done so far. So first of all, it's very interesting to note from a report from UCT showing, and you will know that this government has worked on what we initially called the energy game changer, because we were only able to operate in the SSEG space, which we did. And in South Africa, it's unbelievable to see the effect on SSEG across the board, and specifically noting that we are now the 6th biggest economy in the world when it comes to solar, inverter, and battery markets. As this little country called South Africa, the 6th biggest in the world. Now, we are busy with the program, the same program that he speaks about. So in the city of Cape Town, we've got over 3,000 independent power producers already. What is the result? I don't know if he's listening at the moment, but we have over 3,000 independent power producers already. And of course, those independent power producers are still within the 1 megawatt boundaries. That has changed in the last year, and the program that he speaks about is now engaging in how do we make sure that we connect all 3,000 of those producers to our grid system, because that has been the problem. How do we connect them to the grid system? And I must say that in South Africa, we have given the wrong message to independent power producers, because they always see the threat of power tax, a threat of extra charges if they register and let it be known that they are producing their own power or going off the grid. We have always said, please remain on the grid and remain a power producer for our system. The next stage that we have to enter into is where we actually look at how do we get time of tariff charges in for energy in our region. Now, these are difficult choices that you need to make with time of tariff, but it allows you to pay more during peak times of usage to those providing power. Then let's get to our municipalities that we are enabling. I don't need to say too much more about Cape Town, other than already people who are in the city feel the difference. They've already closed their first round of tenders and they are evaluating them. The second round is almost ready to go out. It's going to go out, it was supposed to go out now in December. They'll probably put it out in January. This round is even going beyond the 100 megawatts. They are actually saying agnostic and no limit. And they will investigate each and every one of those that come in. So it's not going to say you have to only supply solar or wind. You can supply battery power. You can supply any form of power, and will be evaluated, considering the crisis that we find ourselves in. Then, of course, George, that municipality is ahead of all of our other municipalities when it comes to wheeling of power, which is quite nice, because it's good to see when municipalities are actually getting ahead of other ones, because it starts to put pressure on them and they start to increase their speed to market because of the challenges. Stellenbosch, which the honourable member mentioned, is also in the process of almost ready for tender. And by the sounds of things, the race is on to see which municipality will be load shedding free, and they are trying very hard to be that municipality. Then Saldanha Bay, because of what's happening there at the moment with the free port, with Sasol and with ArcelorMittal, are also in a position where they are getting lots of interest into bigger power supplies. Mossel Bay is in the same way. They are in extensive discussions, specifically with the current Saldanha gas system, and whether they can be using flaring for energy provision. But there's also been the recognition now that 3 gigawatts of gas can be made available in that region for the Garden Route. So the energy team already, and that's only the energy team that sits within the economic development portfolio. There is also energy work streams within our infrastructure team. There's an energy work stream within our environmental team, because of course we need to make sure we've got EIAs enabling the environment. So across the board, there is a lot of work being done. And I want to then commend lastly on energy, Green Cape. So Green Cape is an organization that when I was in the position that Minister Wenger is at the moment, we put some funding aside and we set up an organization called Green Cape, knowing that in those days already in load shedding environments, and knowing that the green economy was what is going to be the savior of our energy system going forward. And I want to commend every single person that operates in the Green Cape environment and how they have grown from those days. They are key in advising now at a national level in South Africa, and in actual fact they are also involved in a number of countries internationally now as Green Cape, and even have offices now set up, funded by the EU and based in Europe. So it is actually really commendable that that team has enabled not only us here in the Western Cape, but is actually playing a role in South Africa and also playing a role internationally, because that is what we've got to be doing to be nimble and to be ahead of the curve, so that we can mitigate this massive risk beyond just crime, but also energy provision, so that we can have an economy going forward. at load shedding level 6 or 7 or 8, which is predicted for next year, that really puts our economy under huge stress. But thank you very much to the honourable members that have taken part, and I know that we've got into a lot of discussion around the outside areas that .P supports, but at the end of the day, this is a budget vote for a 19 million rand reduction of a 1.8 billion rand budget, which is about good governance and making sure that we're preparing for next year. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Dugmore, what's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I rise on, in regard into a point of order, and I refer you and the House to rule, and I just want to give everyone the assurance that I'm dealing with the March 2021 rules.
Which rule, Honourable Dugmore?
That's 151.1 and also 151.3.
So am I understanding?
I would like to
you can only deliver.
Yes, so I'm going to deliver.
Perfect.
But I'm supposed to, you don't want me to read it out.
No.
So
there's no rule.
To deliver, and then I'm also going to refer you to 151.3, which says that if there is unanimous concurrence, then this motion can be dealt with. So
Thank you.
Could I deliver
you may
to the
deliver it
Secretary?
to the Secretary, and the Secretary may proceed. He may decide what he wants to do with that. Thank you very much, Honourable Dugmore. That concludes vote 1. The Secretary, if he's ready, will read the second order of the day.
Debat oor begrotingspos 8, menslike nedersettings, Wes-Kaapse aansuiveringsbegrotingswetsontwerp.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I now recognise the Honourable Minister Simmers.
Thank you. Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier, Honourable colleagues of the Cabinet, present and online, Honourable members of the House, both sides of the House, present and online, our honoured guests who are following today's sitting as well. Deputy Speaker, we began this year with a budget with an opportunity for you. Indeed, in the first half of this year, we made concerted efforts to ensure that we create housing opportunities and to ensure that tangible economic and job opportunities are created at the same time. In the 2020 to 2025 strategic planning forecast, we set key targets and deliverables aligned with creating citizen-centric opportunities. To date, we have delivered 24,477 housing opportunities. It is often said that the proof is in the pudding, and the Department's commitment is demonstrated in the achievement of its targets, as I've just highlighted. So, Deputy Speaker, as you can see, we don't only talk about a budget with an opportunity for you, but we live by it. And it is therefore all to see through our work for our citizens. That's why we say it's for you. Today we are here to discuss the adjustments of our budget as we reach the halfway mark of our financial year for 2022-2023. And the halfway mark is usually signalled with a recess and efforts who affords one with an opportunity to review tactics, actions and plans. En ons was daar 'n bietjie doenig, moet ek sê, vir die helfte van hierdie jaar in daai verband. It is also accompanied with realignment where deemed necessary to ensure that the overall objective is achieved. It is therefore at this time that we acknowledge the misinterpretation of the Help Me Buy a Home, or as it was formerly called, FLISC policy and regulations during the period from 2012 till 2019, which led to erroneous payments in the processing of transactions, but not to beneficiaries, but to financial institutions. And I would love the opposition to get their facts straight in that regard, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Because some would have you believe that it was misappropriation of funds, which it clearly was not in this case. And upon the recognition of this misinterpretation in 2019, I can confirm that the department has implemented the following corrective measures. Want ons vat aksie. Ons weet net van 'n probleem en doen niks soos die oppositie in hierdie huis nie. We firstly engaged the financial institutions rigorously on the matter. Secondly, we formulated built-in mechanisms to ensure that the beneficiaries are subsidized in accordance with the sliding scale, which is ultimately at the crux of this matter. Deputy Speaker, at our midway mark, we have reviewed our budget and targets while taking into consideration the landscape of our sector. I am therefore pleased to announce that our budget has received an upward adjustment of 63.169 million rand. This resulted in the budget shifting from 2.415 billion rand to 2.478 billion rand. As part of the adjustment budget, 667,000 rand for planning fees was allocated to the Vredenburg Urban Revitalization Project. This project will see the completion of 162 housing opportunities. In further assisting our municipalities with opportunities, my department has shifted 7.7 million rand. Swellendam municipality will receive 5.5 million rand, and Essequa municipality will receive 2.2 million rand for electrical connections to unlock affordable housing opportunities at the Railton and Melkoutfontein projects. Through this social infrastructure investment, we will yield 350 housing opportunities by the end of our 2022-2023 financial year. Both projects will be completed and delivered, Honourable Deputy Speaker, within a record time of 18 months. Ek dink die oppositie in hierdie huis kan enigiets daarvan sê nie, want hulle kan dit eers in 30 maande doen nie. In our adjustment budget, we allocated an additional 15 million rand for the deferred ownership pilot project called Mole Park, or Cape Gullis, as I formally informed this August House. This project was launched in June 2022 with seed funding of 10 million rand in the 2021-22 financial year. The 15 million rand in the 22-23 financial year will provide capital to build deferred ownership houses that will be sold in 2 years' time in terms of our rent-to-own agreement with our beneficiaries. To date, and since we turned the sod in June 2022, I am pleased to report to this House that despite the increased interest rate and market price increases, this project has seen the completion of 12 successful transactions, and individuals are paying their rent, which is required. 10 of the help and buy a home houses have also been sold, and they haven't even been built yet, to be quite honest. It shows the success of this drive. This once again is proof of the effectiveness of our government's innovative efforts to restore the dignity and pride of our citizens by creating programs that unlock economic opportunities through our social infrastructure projects. And as I could see for myself yesterday when I handed over homes in the Blue Rise village, we don't simply build houses away from work and economic opportunities, which is sadly a narrative so many a times repeated by that side of the House. The Blue Rise Village Housing Project is in Blue Downs. It is a stone's throw away from the Blackheath industrial area and main transport routes along that route as well. So, through social infrastructure, we leverage our existing fixed asset base as an offset incentive mechanism for partnering with the private sector to see a hybrid financial partnership that allows each party to co-fund and procure elements of the project directly. We also ensure that our projects are completed within optimal timeframes, incorporates good governance principles, and that all partners achieve the objectives. Once again, the Blue Rise Village project is such an example. Deputy Speaker, in the Blue Rise Village project, together with the private sector, we were able to unlock 423 help me buy a home housing opportunities. Yesterday, we handed over the first 10 beneficiaries, and what I found quite heartwarming, and the bulk of us here fall under this age category, all the beneficiaries were younger than 39 years old. Thanks to this initiative, and I'm going to use some examples now, the young couple of Mr. and Mrs. Bond would still be out there struggling to get a foot into the home ownership market. But upon receiving their keys yesterday, and the couple said, I quote him, "We had many sleepless nights worried about being approved for a bond. However, that was until we learned about the affordable housing program at the department and the help me buy a home option. We would like to encourage our peers out there earning an income to make use of this great opportunity that government has created for us. Close quote. This is what we mean by looking after the well-being of our citizens. As the bonds went to bed last night, knowing that they are well on their way to providing a secure financial legacy for their children, which they are also planning in their new home. The same can be said for the upstanding 30-year-old South African Police Service Constable, Constable Sandile Nogimane, who now also owns a proud home in the same development. We are also integrating people from different backgrounds. Guided by our medium-term strategic framework and the Western Cape government's growth for job strategy, the department, as of September 2022, facilitated 730 job opportunities against an annual target of 1,000 for the year under review. Ons is goed op pad om ons teiken te bereik. Statistics, South Africa's recent residential building statistics for Q3 indicated that, and I quote them, the Western Cape's relatively strong performance in new home building planning and activity is reflective of its economy outperforming in terms of growth, creating new jobs at a faster pace and fueling stronger demand for housing. Close quote. It is also worth noting that in the last job statistics, the construction sector created 46,000 jobs and is one of the highest job contributors for the quarter in South Africa. It is as a result of such economic activity that 68.7% of the department's HSDG grant was paid to contractors in the designated groups. 14.5% and 6.8% of the HSDG grant was paid to contractors which are women or youth representation, respectively, outperforming our set targets again. But during this first half of the financial year under review, we also facilitated training to 180 youth. Deputy Speaker, for you see, we cannot mention safety and well-being as priorities without the inclusion of women and youth in our programs. I therefore call on all women and youth entrepreneurs following us now virtually, and also job seekers in the built environment to come forward and seize the opportunities afforded to them by this caring department, by this caring DA-led provincial government. For the remainder of the MTSF, the department will continue to contribute towards empowerment opportunities by awarding contracts to contractors within the targeted groups and by facilitating job opportunities and training for young people in the built environment. But Deputy Speaker, it's one thing to build homes, it's one thing to create job opportunities. The people of the Western Cape need to be assured of the security of tenure, something the ANC failed up until 2009 before this DA government took over. The department continues to make strides in eradicating the backlog of historical title deeds, with concerted collaborative efforts between the department and the state attorney to resolve that which was deemed difficult cases by an incompetent ANC, I should add. A total delivery of 17,485 title deeds have been transferred to qualifying beneficiaries during this MTSF period, which allowed for the security of tenure through home ownership. Earlier this year, when I delivered the 2022-23 budget speech, we were joined in the gallery by a beneficiary who had received his title deeds in December 2021. And it's a pity the ANC member has left the chamber who said, Mr. Title Deeds. And she will say, now I'm so passionate about title deeds. Mr. Koester from Vredenburg in Saldanha Bay waited 50 years to get his title deed. So I was quite sad when I heard, Honourable Deputy Speaker, that a few months...
Honourable Moran, I can't hear. Over to you, Minister.
That a few months after he got this life-changing document in his hand, after waiting 50 years, Deputy Speaker, he sadly passed away. But I believe that he passed away a very happy man, because he finally owned something in the country of his birth, something which was denied to him by the ANC prior to 2009, because they failed at everything that they did up until 2009. But this further confirms the importance of, and the reason why I use Mr. Koester as an example, of why this provincial department and this provincial government needs to ensure that we deliver title deeds to beneficiaries such as Mr. Koester. And the only way that we can do that is to empower our municipalities as our partners in ensuring they get their title deeds. And it is on this basis that we have reallocated 11.378 million rand as a rollover to 7 municipalities in respect of title deed restoration program. En ons wil onze mense se lewens daadwerklik verander deur eienaarskap. In November, my heart once again was touched when, together with the Langeberg municipality, and I must say in record time again, we delivered 172 BNG units to the Nkobela housing project, but the good work did not stop there of this provincial department and its staff and this provincial government. Deputy Speaker, we handed over title deeds within 60 days to the same beneficiaries, something the ANC could never do before 2009, and they're still struggling in the other 8 provinces, by the way. And I think this House will agree with me. That was 27 million rand well spent by this provincial government to ensure we change all our people's lives. It's a pity we can't just get Eskom on board for the rest. One of the beneficiaries, once again, it's a pity the member of the opposition isn't in the House, and I hope our colleagues conveys this to her, is Ms. Dikasi Luwalala. And this is the oldest beneficiary I've given a house and a title deed to in the last 3 years. She's 92 years old. She never owned a house. She worked on a farm in the Langeberg area. And she said, and I quote her, it's not my words, "It is with the highest gratitude that I stand here today and receive this title deed. At some point in my life, I thought this dream will never be realized, and today, here we are. I would like to thank our caring provincial government for making this possible." Close quote. And the irony, Deputy Speaker, her grandchild is an ANC councillor in the same municipality. Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to end with this quote. "We can't always choose the music life plays for us, but we can choose how we dance to it." Close quote. This provincial department and this provincial government is choosing the restoration of hope and the dignity of all of our citizens. I think that's a beat we all want to dance to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Over to you, Honourable Kama. Floor is yours.
No, we did say that.
Order, members. Order on my left side. Honourable Kama.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We did say that there are people who are thinking that we are running a pub here. And so I was told about
No, Honourable Kama, you've got the floor now, so you must focus.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, honourable members, incoming Premier Ivan Meyer, outgoing Premier Windy, leader of the official opposition. The ANC declines to support this budget vote. I think what is
Order. Honourable Kama.
I think what is important, Deputy Speaker, is that the DA must stop the act.
Honourable Kama, take your seat for a moment. Honourable Bosman, what's your point of order?
to ask if the honourable member is prepared to take a question.
Honourable Kama.
No, I'm not.
Sit down, Honourable Bosman. You may proceed, Honourable Kama.
Deputy Speaker, the DA must stop the act. No amount of fine-raised statistics will change the realities of this government, that it is comfortable with the privileges of the rich and white and disparities of the poor and black. While noting that the department's budget has increased by over 62 million, including rollovers of about 6.5 million and 56.6 million from other adjustments, the ANC does not believe that this increase will bring a positive change for the people. Yesterday, Comrade Pat Maran, in welcoming the report of human settlements on dignity oversight, said, if the department's performance of housing development will be rated, it would get 1 out of 10 due to its poor performance and slow pace of housing delivery. I concur with Comrade Pat's assessment. This is one of the worst performing departments in the province, with a weak MEC that is more preoccupied with DA internal functional politics than delivery of houses. We are called upon to pass a budget that will once more lead to material findings by the Auditor General as the clueless MEC continues to lead the department astray. We want the MEC to present his plans to address the consistent serious findings against his department, which always get the worst audit findings. Recently, a media headline read, and I quote, "The Western Cape Department of Human Settlements has been wrapped over the knuckles for weak controls that led to financial losses of 22 million rand. This was based on the Auditor General's finding that the department provided housing subsidies to people who were not entitled to one and overpaid valid applicants, which resulted in a loss of 22 million rand. And in this, Deputy Speaker, we were reminded of Cynthia Bless, which even Member Maran spoke about here yesterday, whose subsidy was approved in April 2020. She is currently staying with her disabled son in a dilapidated house. Up until now, she does not have a house built for her. It will be very remiss of me not to congratulate, however, the MEC on his promotion to the new Department of Infrastructure. I also have to note that with the kind of legacy he has gained in the Department of Human Settlements, we have to be very worried about the future of infrastructure in the province. With this promotion, it is clear that Premier Alan Winde and the DA reward mediocre. The housing demand database of nearly 600,000 people worsened under his watch, and there seems to be no plan from the provincial government to halt the rapid increase of this database. The insignificant 63 million rand increase in the department's budget will not make any positive change. Instead, it will contribute toward the department's poor performance. The Dignity Oversight report that was alluded to above painted a grim picture of dwindling housing targets that are never achieved. It highlighted the challenge of a messed up housing demand database across municipalities, and all of the above point to the need for an urgent intervention from the MEC. The city's annual delivery targets dwindled from over 17,000 homes and service sites between 2013 and 2020 to a mere 8,000. Like COVID-19, which has been the most used excuse by this government for underperformance, the MEC is using extortion as a fig leaf to hide from his poor performance. The MEC must stop being a crybaby. He must use his powers to act. We want to know how is he responding to this challenge of extortion in housing development project and how this budget is providing for it. The ANC has continuously called for accelerated housing provision for low-income earners, especially in the areas with high demand. We continue to make calls for government to address the legacy of apartheid spatial development by building affordable housing near places of opportunities. And we continue to make calls for funding upgrades of informal settlements. None of these have been prioritized in this budget. The proposed budget does not come near addressing the housing challenges in the province. Despite all of the above mentioned challenges, only 23.4 million additional budget will go towards Program 3, which is housing development. However, that is not the main challenge. The department must strengthen its internal measures and come up with strategies to deal with shoddy workmanship, which has led to the collapse of the Transhex housing project, where the first 44 houses which were supposed to be handed over in December 2020 have not yet been handed over to date due to structural problems. And the MEC deliberately does not talk about this. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the department received 8.5 million in its own revenue collection. Ordinarily, an increase in own revenue collection for a department is a welcome development. However, for this department, it is a matter of grave concern. While black people live in squalor, being crammed in informal settlements with no basic services, white people continue to live lavishly in government-owned properties across a number of leafy suburbs at a rental fee of only 100 Rand per month. This is far less than the market-related value. The committee and the House need to pay a closer look at this anomaly. It is either people pay market-related values for these properties, or access is given to everyone, not only white people. It is for those reasons that the ANC declines to support this budget. It is disappointing that funds for goods and services and compensation of employees have been reprioritized for provision for higher than budgeted legal costs, traveling costs, and security costs. Deputy Speaker, reality is that we have a weak MEC in this department. And we want to warn the MEC that in the DA, like we warn all other members of the DA who are non-white, in the DA, if you are not white, you are kept in a position for as long as you are weak. A political heist is being committed in this House. We sleep and wake up with no speaker. The institution of this parliament is being led into chaos by Helen Zille and the white bosses of the DA.
Your time is
the
up.
MEC is just clueless and allowing all this chaos to unfold. Zille decided to fire Ngasela, and now we must wait for Zille to decide who is going to be the speaker. And this MEC is a leader of the DA in this province. He is weak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Kama. Order members, I now recognize Honourable Kamba Botia. I think you're online.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The MEC has actually listed a number of success stories done by his department that we don't even see on the ground. Deputy Speaker, there is a list with personal details of residents from Kanana Informal Settlement who were promised houses by the very same department, and the department promised to move these residents to the forest village by July 2022. Deputy Speaker, 2 weeks back, someone knocked on our office door and to hand over a list containing private personal details of these applicants. This individual then told us that he found the list in the trash bin, and that upon inquiry, he also found that the same people in that list are still without houses. Deputy Speaker, this conduct from the department is inhuman and infringe almost all the values of our constitution. Not only did the department deceive them about getting houses, but it also disposed of the personal information in an undignified manner. Deputy Speaker, today we have what we call a POPI Act, which aims to protect the personal information of people of this country. But for the department to throw people's personal information in a trash bin and on top of that, not provide with them with promised houses is despicable. Deputy Speaker, it is not only these individuals who are battling to get decent houses from the department. People of Danun and Kosovo were promised houses during the height of COVID-19 pandemic by this very same department, and to date, not much has been done by the department. Deputy Speaker, a budget increase of more than 63 million will not assist a department that is unwilling to provide people with houses. The political head of this department must just admit that he has failed and must do an honorable thing and resign, because our people cannot continue to suffer as a result of this poor leadership. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I now recognise Honourable August. Are you online?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Yesterday, the Dignity Oversight Report was accepted in this House. As I mentioned in my declaration remarks, the report alludes to some developments. However, we still have a very, very long way to go to achieve our ideals of giving the people of this province a house they can call a home. The Western Cape's housing backlog is running into hundreds of thousands of applicants in waiting. This government simply won't be able to meet these targets, not in this term and certainly not in the possible next one, as their policies are centralized on upholding the status quo. We need robust reforms on addressing spatial injustices. We need robust policy redress that tackles how we view the development of human habitats, aligned with decent delivery of services. We need to better understand the ever-changing needs of people from human settlements and how this fuses with the ability of any government to deliver a decent, quality, need-fulfilling home. I will repeat this again. Where people live matter, how people live matter, and how they engage with the environment matter. How they access public transport matters, and how they make an income matter. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. You may finish your sentence.
We cannot simply just deliver housing units and assume that answers the need. These exercises end up too closely to bear to the government ends up taking 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member. I now recognise Honourable Mseko.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Premier, Cabinet members, and honourable members of the House. I just want to say I thank the opposition from ANC and the members of the Standing Committee for supporting vote 8 of this adjustment. I really appreciate that. And I know why they did that, because they acknowledge the work that they have seen as they crisscrossed this province in seeing what this department is doing. And I know that Member Maran, as we crisscrossed, he learned the word Transhex. He will mention it again and again. And I appreciate that that project is close to his heart. And he'll say Transhex until I finish doing my debate, which I appreciate that. And another one is, Deputy Speaker, I just want to highlight one thing that Member Kama said when he stood up in saying that no, they don't support the adjustment. I understand it's not in the standing committee, so he didn't get the report maybe from the contribution, 20% contribution from Member Lily in attending the standing committee. And I want to thank Member Maran for his 80% contribution of attending the standing committee for human settlements. I expected Member Maran to be the one who's going to contribute, as he has been the voice of the Western Cape communities that voted for ANC, even though he's not a permanent member in the standing committee. So Member Maran, thank you very much. You were just shortchanged for not debating this adjustment. Deputy Speaker, Minister Mireille Ruenga presented to us the provincial government's framework of hope last week. The adjustment budget is set to further restore dignity to Western Cape residents, highlight the provincial government's concern for our most vulnerable communities, prioritize infrastructure development, create jobs, and inspire hope. I rise confidently in support of Vote 8, Human Settlements. The Western Cape Department of Human Settlements has been allocated an additional 63 million in the adjusted appropriation budget. This allocation represents an ongoing process of development and delivery of the people of the Western Cape. This budget aims to provide human settlements projects with a range of rental and ownership options that cater to the diverse needs and incomes of households, as well as basic and social economic services. It also aims to continuously improve human settlements through citizen and government efforts supported by contributions from the private sector. The housing crisis in South Africa is a troubling issue that must be addressed in conjunction with the country's unemployment and economic challenges. When people lack adequate access to stable employment opportunities, they are more likely to turn to the government for housing as well. The Western Cape provincial government's decision to increase the human settlements budget by 63 million exemplifies the type of government that is honest and knowledgeable about the South African housing backlog crisis that dates back decades. The total additional appropriation for Program 3, Housing Development, has seen an increase of over 30 million rand. 15 million of this was spent in respect of the deferred ownership projects in Mill Park. 7.7 million was spent on electrical connections for breaking new grounds units in Railton and Melkhoutfontein projects. Over the last year, the Provincial Department of Human Settlements has done more than just build houses. It has built homes and given dignity to thousands of households and communities. In the last financial year, Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Provincial Department of Human Settlements played a significant role in job creation as well as in providing skills training opportunities to young people. This despite the country being in the middle of an economic and employment crisis. The department contributed in enabling the recovery of the Western Cape economy. Many locals in various communities of the Western Cape can attest to the job opportunities they were given as a result of human settlements projects. Approximately 68% of the human settlement development grant in the 2021-2022 financial period was spent on small, medium, and micro enterprises, with 14.5% and 6.18% of that amount going to contractors who represent women and youth, respectively. And I know Member Maran is passionate about this because he supports me as the chairperson. This amplifies how the department has followed through on its promise to actively support the growth of small businesses in the Western Cape. During Women's Month in August, I joined Minister Simmers at a Women in Construction event where the minister announced the development of an app that will make tender processes and information easier to access. The development of such an app once again will highlight the innovation and responsiveness of the Western Cape government to inputs of the public. Honorable Deputy Speaker, despite the department's tireless efforts to ensure that Western Cape housing beneficiaries receive their homes on time and in good condition, the department has faced significant difficulties due to the gangs that intimidate and extort contractors by demanding what they refer to as protection money that can reach 200,000 per month. And through you, Deputy Speaker, Member Kama needs to understand this. There have been numerous housing projects in the Western Cape that had to be postponed or prolonged as a result of these brazen criminal incidences. It's not a crybaby, it's a reality. Minister Simmers recently disclosed in parliamentary question that it was shared with all of us that 5 billion rand in housing projects have been put on hold due to criminal activity and other issues. There's around 40,000 beneficiaries. It's about 47 housing projects. I'm not counting one house. It's 47 housing projects that are affected.
Please take your seat, Honourable Member. Honourable Said.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, would the Honourable Maseko be as gracious enough as the Premier to take a question, please, particularly on who's getting
Over to you, Honourable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Deputy
Order.
Speaker. Like Honourable Member mentioned that Premier is gracious. I am not gracious. So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I am pleased to inform this House that the Human Settlement Standing Committee will convene a meeting with the relevant stakeholders in January 2023 to discuss the best approaches to tackle this issue of extortion in human settlements projects. We cannot continue to watch while criminals dominate our society and interrupt crucial service delivery projects. I also want to commend the Provincial Department of Human Settlements for its partnership-based and people-centered approach to the delivery of homes and improving the quality of living conditions of people living in informal settlements across the Western Cape. Honourable Deputy Speaker, it's said that now I would also like to take this moment to commend the Western Cape government and City of Cape Town for their continued commitment to building social houses. But we need to acknowledge that that is just not enough, because the more this government delivers, the more we are creating the demand for the housing. That's a ripple effect that the movement will come to this government because there is opportunities. People, they don't come in Western Cape just for the housing. They come for job opportunities. People, they don't eat houses. They need to have the jobs to take care of their families. Now, the Western Cape province has the highest number of social houses in the country where affordable, decent rental accommodations in convenient locations throughout the city are provided. The recent announcement of the historic Salt River project that will see the development of 216 units of social houses is one of the many projects in Cape Town that brings affordable rental units to the heart of the city. Again, the sad part where National is involved is, I would also like just to take this moment to express, and I know my colleagues also, they will join me in this one, for the, the District 6 community. For decades, the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development has denied the displaced beneficiaries the dignity of moving back to their community. Minister Togodi Diza continues to close the doors of transparency. We even deployed Member Maran to try to talk to his colleague in making sure that comes and talk to us. Member Maran was there when the communities were here in the public hearing telling us to try and get the information on their behalf to find out after more than 30 years, when are they going to move back? They just want answers. Member Maran promised with this committee, we will try, but unfortunately they're hiding behind POPIA Act. So it's still difficult for Member Maran, but Member Maran said he will check how we can do that when they go for the Congress, if it can happen. So in closing, Deputy Speaker, we must be honest and in acknowledging that housing delivery in South Africa will continue to be a challenging task. I therefore commend the Western Cape government's continued hard work in ensuring that in this province, at least this crisis is mitigated as much as possible. And in closing, I just want to also thank again my 80% member Maran for the contributions for this financial year, my 20% member in absentia or maybe online in his contribution when he's available to this standing committee, and also for today member Kama for representing the 20%, which I have to subtract 1. Now 19% you have 1% for the contribution. The Human Settlements family and Minister for really being there as the members always. They ask for reaction within 30 days. This standing committee is the one that always have the deadlines as we go throughout the municipality. So we appreciate all the assistance you are giving, the dignity you are giving to the communities. And with that, Deputy Speaker, this standing committee is the only one who supported the adjustment budget vote unanimously. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. I now recognise Honourable Minister Simmers. Honourable members, we've got to push through. Honourable Minister Simmers, over to you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. And firstly, I welcome all the responses from the different parties. Ik wil amper gee die voorzitter van die komitee met aanpraten, maar ja, het beperkte tijd. And I will respond to some of the inputs by Mr. 2020, seeing Mr. 80 is in here. Member Kama, it shows why you are part of the 2020 gang. So let me just put the facts straight to you so you can become part of the 8080 group when you are there. First and foremost, Member Kama, you referred to matters which was highlighted by the AG, and I do welcome that. But I'm not a chunky bal. In Afrikaans, there's a saying, as you sweep klap en jy moet die houe keer, moet jy die houe vat. And I'm man enough to take the shots and the punches when I get it, but you must also be willing to accept it when you will get it. So let me start correcting you on some of the misinformation.
Minister Simmers, just take your seat for a moment. Honourable Said.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I know the colleagues on the opposite side of the House are now going to say that I'm being like a stuck record, but I will continue. The Honourable MEC must speak through you.
I understand.
And the reason why it's happening all the time is because when I do raise it, they treat it like a joke.
Thank you. Honourable Minister, you may proceed. Please focus on me.
Through you, Deputy Speaker, to Member Kama. Let me now correct some of the incorrect information contained in your inputs. Now, I can't take you for granted. I can't blame you because you're part of the 2020 gang. So I fully understand why you relied on somebody else, possibly through you, Deputy Speaker, writing and giving that speech. Verstaan jy heeltemal, is dit treurenswaardig die inset.
1 minute, Minister. Can you take a seat? Honourable Kama, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape is a province of gangs. And
no, what's your point?
I'm part of the, he's saying I'm part of the 2020 gang.
No. Honourable Kama, don't make assumptions. I heard very clearly, just 2020 is a perfect word. Okay. Nothing associated. Honourable Kama, no, Honourable Kama, I can't say, we can't do that, and that's a blanket definition in the dictionary. Honourable Syed, do you have a point of order?
Point of order, Honourable Deputy Speaker. We're not having a problem with the term 2020. It's when it's accompanied with the word gang.
Sure.
That has serious implications. Sure. Thank you.
Sure. I will listen very carefully if the Minister accuses any of you of any. Honourable Member. Over to you, Minister Simmers. Focus on me, please.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. To come back to the 2020 component, which the Honourable Member is part of. But you must listen to TKZ, which also has a song called Let's Go Independent. So, your 22 million rand comment.
Order.
By the way. The 22 million rand, once again, Deputy Speaker, through you, there's a tendency of the opposition to use the newspapers as their main source of information. Once again, the misinformation in terms of the 22 million rand, once again, has now been, I said when I did my speech, I acknowledged what was the real issue and what the corrective steps are. So I would really encourage the member as part of the 20% to actually read the real reason and not depend on a newspaper article as its main source of intelligence when it comes to this August House. Then, Deputy Speaker, Cynthia Bliss, once again, the fact there is, I'm going to give the facts again because I did respond to the Honourable Lily on this matter in writing. It's a pity that the other part of the 2020 group did not give it to this member through you, Deputy Speaker. Ms. Bliss has a disabled son. On her application at municipal level, when she applied, she indicated that there's a disability. That is correct. But when we started the project, and then you go to the next stage of filling in your required information, the municipality failed to process her application properly because units for persons with disability get additional funding and they are retrofitted, so we can't give them duplex units. We need to give them single-story units. And the problem is, the third problem is that by the time that we became aware of Mrs. Bless's situation, all the single units were already handed out. And I believe this House will agree with me. I can't give a duplex unit, which is not fitted for persons with disability, to Mrs. Bless. But now we go, the issue is then is taken further because we can't continue building houses in the municipality because Eskom can't actually give additional capacity. So it's a very awkward situation to resolve. Perhaps if ESCOM can ensure there's energy and they can actually give additional capacity to the line, then we can actually build Mrs. Bliss the house which she rightfully deserves.
Order, members.
In terms of the growing backlog, I'm happy that the Honourable Maseko
Honourable Moran, 1 minute.
touched on that, Honourable Deputy Speaker, because you can't expect this provincial government to address the backlog it inherited. Nor can you expect this provincial government and this provincial department to deal effectively and efficiently when we've, for more than a decade, asked for additional funding to ensure that we effectively deal with the housing need in this province.
Order.
Then, in terms of the Transex project, which is the 80% contributors' main theme since last year, and I really applaud that, Deputy Speaker. That's a site where new technology was being used to build those units. We had certain responsibilities, the municipality had certain responsibilities. And there is trial and error when you do test new technologies, Deputy Speaker. So I had to acknowledge that the technology seemed okay to use, but the contractor was the wrong contractor for the right technology. But now, where are we currently? And through you, Deputy Speaker,
Honourable Moran.
to the Honourable Members, the 80% attendance to the committee, I'm proud to say that where we could not, in 2020, hand over those units. And I asked my department, I don't want to hand over the 44 units through you, Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Member talks about. I want to hand over all 190 units because those people have been waiting for a very long time. I acknowledge that. And I'm proud to say that we will be making an announcement through the municipality when all 190 units will be handed over. Not just the 44 that the Honourable Member through you, Deputy Speaker, is talking about the whole time. Deputy Speaker, once again through you, I find it quite ironic, but actually not, that the opposition party keeps on hammering regarding rental stock owned by this provincial government. And the problem that we have now, Honourable Deputy Speaker, is that we have commenced and implemented a rental strategy to ensure that tenants, firstly, are legal, which means they have a rental agreement with my department. We've applied a scale basis where we also do open market related pricing for our rental stock. So people paying 100 rand will not be paying 100 rand. But the irony for me in the Deputy Speaker, why is it always about race for the African National Congress? When some of the members or people who have been waiting for many years living in those units are people of different colors, not just the one color the African National Congress keeps on hammering about. And it's time for them to look into the mirror, Deputy Speaker, to start reflecting internally why they are failing in the Western Cape. Why they are failing, they couldn't even have a Congress, they had to postpone it again, because they are a failing and dying party in the Western Cape. Hou op, focus op ras, focus op dinge wat saak maak.
Order, members. Order.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, in terms of the EFF, once again, I so hope that the EFF actually attends the Standing Committee of Human Settlements. Then, Deputy Speaker, they would be aware
Order,
the
members.
proportion of people who were earmarked to move to Forest Village were moved to Forest Village in 2021 already, with names which we, as a department, together with the City of Cape Town, in isiXhosa, we put up the names of people who are going to move so the community could tell us, are these the right people or the wrong people? And when the movement started, the correct people were moved. So if there's any other people now alleging they were supposed to move, ek is jammer, die bus het beweeg, die mense het getrek. In terms of the noon.
Honourable Minister, can you take your seat? I see there is a hand up, Honourable Makamba Bochia. Do you have a point of order?
Deputy Speaker, I just want to know
Moran,
if the MEC is able to take a question, because now he is watering down the information that I have at my disposal.
Honourable Minister Simmers.
Deputy Speaker, through you, I will not take a question, but the member can send me a question in writing for written response so that the EFF can be empowered with the correct information in black and white.
Thank you very much.
I can't dismiss information.
Deputy Speaker, through you, the matter of the noon, once again, as we are speaking, the bulk infrastructure is being installed. But I need to respect the City of Cape Town and their due processes in terms of approval for the rezoning application which we did. That took up more than a year of our time in that project. But we are a provincial government that respects the rule of law and builds good intergovernmental relations with the relevant sphere of government. So that is why no unit has been built, but the bulk infrastructure or installation has commenced earlier this year. Remember, Deputy Speaker, at this juncture, I would love to thank our Standing Committee Chairperson and the members of our committee for the role that they play in holding us to account. And they're doing it effectively and efficiently, irrespective which party members are part of that Standing Committee. And ek wil baie dankie sê, whether you're part of the 80% or the 20%, you are at least holding me 100% accountable, and I really, really thank you for that. But I would also, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, at this stage, I would really like to thank our new head of department, Labika Skierman, who's present in the House today, who commenced on the 1st of November. She's hit the ground running. She has taken charge of the department, but also together with the team are ensuring that we are focused on the task that lies ahead of us, which is to deliver and continue delivering to qualifying beneficiaries of the Western Cape their much needed housing opportunities.
Order, members.
And at the same time, being part of the process of refresh as we wind up this department to form part of the new Department of Infrastructure. But also the entire senior management team and all 437 employees of Human Settlements, because to us, each one plays a part, no matter your small component within our department. Additionally, I also want to thank my ministry staff. It's not easy to deal with two departments at the same time, but they've done it. They've ensured I reply to oral questions, to written questions to this House in time with very few requests for extensions during a very, very difficult year. But also the way that they are embracing refresh as we prepare for the new department. But last but not least, also to the head of my ministry, Ms. Vivian Jalo, who is always by my side to play a crucial role. And then to all the members of this House from the Department of Human Settlements, I do wish you all a safe festive season. Travel safely if you are traveling. And indeed, have a blessed new year, as 2023 is the year where you will see real DA change happening in the Western Cape at a more accelerated pace. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, Honourable Said and Honourable Bartman, if you could just concur with me for a minute. I really want to push the next vote through. We're supposed to break at 1, but if we might just be 10 minutes late. We have a very long afternoon program. Is that okay? I'm taking conclusion. It's Friday, prayer day. Okay. Thank you very much. I will ask that Mr. Stamela read the next order of the day. Sorry, that concludes the vote, and I ask Mr. Stamela to read the next order of the day.
Ingxoxo ngomthetho oyilwayo ohlengahlengiso lwezimali lwesebe lezolimo eNtshona Koloni.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stamela. I now recognize the Honourable Minister Mayor.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and thank you for this opportunity to present before lunch. I want to greet all the members of the legislature. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I rise today to table the Western Cape Department of Agriculture Adjustment Budget 2020-22. Honourable Deputy Speaker, on the 30th of March this year, I tabled the main budget of 969,218 million, confirming the Western Cape Departments of Agriculture through the budget and the theme under the budget we are pushing forward today. I return to this House to place before you an adjusted budget of 992,695 million and to confirm that agriculture is still on the theme. Now, the details of the adjustment budgets and the estimates of expenditure before us and that is the same figures that I've tabled before the Standing Committee, is 2.428 million towards the appointment of a service provider to conduct the pre-feasibility study, broadcasting services, the design layout of the printing, publications, maintenance and repairs, as well as procurement of finished equipment and laptops. 109 million towards the economic impact evaluation of Fruitlook. As you know, Fruitlook is a digital satellite platform to assist people with effective water resource management, management of the water resources through a digital satellite. Also 2.210 million towards the flyover expenditure maintenance and the repairs of machinery and the procurement of printers and laptops. I think this House will know that every 3 years we fly over the whole province to get the right data at the different levels and also in the different spatial contexts in the Western Cape. Also 3.70 million towards the procurement of groceries for students, meals at the college, maintenance and the repairs and the machinery and the procurement of laptops and office equipment. 746,000 rand is also allocated to the capacitation of the Garden Roots Farms dialogue to engage with farmers, farm workers in particular, in terms of our social capital investment there. Other adjustments totaling 11 million include 1.7 million towards the procurement for diesel for generators due to excessive load shedding and price hikes, 553,000 towards installing and configuring a backup storage systems for the department. 1.3 million rand is assigned for the implementation of the disaster recovery plan, 400,000 rand to ensure service delivery continuation by funding official telephones, and 3 million rand towards the support for logistics for operating the South African National Accreditation System for our facilities of the veterinary laboratory services. I think, Honourable Deputy Speaker, you will know that the Western Cape Government is the host of a very effective provincial veterinary laboratory system, and we are doing testing not only for farmers here in the Western Cape but for the whole country, and that system is now being upgraded to also maintain our accreditation status. 3 million rand towards feed and fodder for the herds and flocks on the agricultural research farm. Honourable Deputy Speaker, you will also know that the Western Cape has 7 well-run, efficient, effective research farms, and those are the allocations in that regard. Honourable Deputy Speaker, 1 million rand is also allocated to the procurement of groceries for the Elsenburg College hostel procurement, maintenance and upgrades of the Moodle operating system. Honourable Deputy Speaker, you know during COVID-19, the learners were unable to come to the college, so we have created an electronic e-learning platform called Moodle, so that students can have interactive engagements with the lecturers while they were not able to attend the classes, and so we have made that adjustments there. So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I now table the Departments of Agriculture 2022 adjusted budget of 992.695 million for consideration in this House. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I now recognise Honourable Moran.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. In this budget, Speaker, from the MEC, not a word about farm workers, not a single word. And in the meeting, the committee meeting that we had at the end, the MEC said he is a MEC that cares for both farmers and farm workers. That was his words. A budget, Deputy Speaker, of 992 million rand. Only 567,000 budgeted for farm workers, the Prestige Farm Worker event. Not even 0.1% of the total budget. Not even 0.1% of that budget. Now, the MEC says that he cares for workers. But in the DA's 2019 manifesto, and as a national leader of the DA, they propose that farm workers should only receive a wage that is equal to the old 8 pence grant. And at that time, 1,800. A slave wage. This MEC says that he cares for farm workers. And many times we have seen when a farmer been assaulted or killed, these MEC will go to the court and oppose bail. Many farm workers has been killed over the last couple of years. Not once have you seen this MEC in court in defense of farm workers. None. Now, and I've spoken to the MEC about the issue of
Chair, on a
farm
point of
workers
order.
and about the issue of
Honourable
land.
Member Moran, please take your seat. There's a point
Chair,
of
on
order.
a point of order, my point
Yes.
of order is Honourable Moran is speaking to Minister Simmers and I. Can he please speak to you as per the rules? Thank you.
Honourable Moran, face me. It's much easier than being distracted. Honourable
Yes,
Honourable Moran,
but-
just take your seat. There's another point of order. Honourable Said.
On a point of order also, the Honourable Mitchell, I noticed he stood up first before he was recognized. I don't have a problem that he did the point of order, it's in there, but he stood up first, the process behind it.
Okay, honourable members, we have to push through till lunch. I recognise the Honourable Acting Chief Whip.
Honourable Chair, in terms of Rule 66, subsection 3 regarding procedure, practice and operations of this House, when we raise our hands for point of orders, it's for the virtual platform because in COVID we had to get a virtual platform. But when you rise on a point of order, the word rise means that you must stand up. So when we rise on point of orders, I would like this House to continue with traditional precedences and practices that you must rise on a point of order.
Thank you, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable Premier, what's your point of order?
This House longer than any other member in this House, and it has always been the tradition, as you want to rise on a point of order, you stand up and you stay standing until the Speaker recognises you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Said. Honourable members, 1 minute. Honourable Said speaking.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, firstly, number one,
Order.
we do recognize Honourable Premier, Honourable Peter Murray as well as having been in the House for a long time. Member Dugmore actually started in 1994 for the information purposes. But, and so we do take their wisdom. So on the basis of that wisdom of the Honourable Premier, and then the learning from that wisdom from the Honourable Acting Chief Whip, can we then indicate, because there was a ruling that we can't stand up if we're not being recognized, can we then indicate then that there's an amendment, there's a change now, so that we can just stand up if we want to be recognized? Thank you.
Honourable members. Yeah, honourable members, I'm reluctant to do this now because it's going to become a debate, and Honourable Moran is now you're on the hot seat now because your speech is not being heard. So I wonder if I could come back and make a ruling on this. So for the interest of time and lunch. And Honourable Moran, face me. I'm looking at you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. This MEC is saying that he cares so much for farm workers. And when we spoke about farm workers and this prestige farm worker event, and spoke about how we can assist them to acquire land, and not only to remain farm workers, the response was that, but one of the prestige agri workers that have won, and through that, an opportunity that she took up in Australasia. So this MEC is fine when we lose expertise and not creating those opportunities for those farm workers to become farmers. The MEC's response is saying, I'm happy that she left to another country. That's actually what the MEC is saying. Deputy Speaker, the ANC does not support this budget vote. Let me start with this. After the tabling of the adjusted budget, We sat in our respective committees, which left us with more unanswered questions. And for this reason, we must reject this budget. The adjusted budget has variance that amounts to 5.5 million, but in this committee we were presented with a figure that had 300,000 unaccounted for, and we are not sure where that money goes. Where is the money trail and evidence? Is this not an evidence-led governance continuously set by the Premier? We need that evidence, and we need it soon. You cannot unspend and also have money that goes missing. How are the books balancing?
Order.
For the compensation of employees diminishing year after year, this is also a concern for the ANC. Various departments have witnessed this ongoing trend, and it's worrisome. Yet this provincial government seeks outside labor by outsourcing services instead of employing citizens of this province. Deputy Speaker, this provincial government is willing to outsource 2.2 million rand worth of labor instead of working towards elevating the high unemployment rate that we are currently faced with. The decrease in unemployment that was announced a few days ago for the province does not go unnoticed. But we cannot praise a fish for swimming. You have promised one job for every household a few years back. The department needs to prioritize filling those vacant posts and stop using money appropriated for the compensation of employees to other programs and projects. Yes, the DA will try and retaliate by saying, what about national government? This has become an old and boring song, and they need to account for the province that they are governing. To continuously keeping hiding behind national government while they have enough funds. For example, the provision of safe transportation for farm workers. This is a program of the Department of Agriculture. Obviously, they are shifting the blame and say, no, it's the responsibility of public works and transport. And yet, in 2019, when a certain farmer was killed in Stellenbosch, this department could manage to get 5 million rand and distribute it to the different district municipalities to put up cameras across all major roads within the province. And yet, they are saying it's the responsibility of public works. Deputy Speaker, it does not stop, but this does not stop them from funding LEAP officers, even though policing is supposedly a national mandate. And earlier this morning, we heard the Premier spoke about the devolution of powers. They want more powers, admitting actually that policing is not a responsibility. And in the budget speech that we heard from the MEC of Finance, billions of rand budgeted for LEAP officers and tried to establish these police force that the Premier promised in his manifesto. In reality, this provincial government refuses to address the challenges faced by agricultural workers. These workers continue to be transported like animals at the back of trucks, and this poses a huge risk of safety. It's a food security crisis, threat, when farm workers are killed at the back of trucks. These are humans, people with homes, people who are held in high regard in the communities that are being treated and degraded like this. Another issue that we have with this DA-led government is the land reform issue that has been ongoing since we came into this administration in 2019. To go back to this government being able to fund programs, even though they are a national mandate, the Premier said that he was not going to wait for national government to fund the 20 million rand Brandvlei Dam project. They could find 20 million and put it in the 2019 budget for the rise of the sloot at the Brandvlei Dam. Now, Speaker, which brings me to ask this. Why are there projects that they can do, even though they are not the mandate, but also projects that they are adamant on not taking on because they are national mandates? This proves that there is nothing stopping them from carrying on these duties. The land ownership of black farmers in this province
Your time
has
is up.
decreased, and black farmers were forced to sell the land to their previous white land
Thank you,
owners
Honourable Moran. Your
due
time is up.
to insufficient funds to run farms. That's one of the reasons why this MEC is in denial about ownership in the Western Cape. And when the Honourable Dartmoor posed
Thank
a written
you.
question, the MEC referred
Come,
him
Honourable
to the
Member.
Deeds Office.
Thank you very much, Honourable Moran.
Speaker, I cannot accept this budget, and therefore the ANC declined to support this budget vote.
Thank you
I
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I now call on Honourable Claire Hall. I think you're online, Honourable Claire Hall.
Yes, that's correct.
You may proceed.
Deputy Speaker, increasing the Department of Agriculture budget by more than 23 million is uncalled for. This is the same department that is unwilling to transform the agricultural sector of the province by making it more inclusive. Every year, millions of rands are pumped into this department in order to assist the already rich white farmers who can survive without state assistance. The millions of rands were supposed to have been used by the department to acquire agricultural land to be able to assist emerging black farmers. When the booming of the agricultural sector is celebrated in this province, it is the white people who continue to get richer. This leads to the increase in inequalities that are happening in this province. More than 20 years into democracy, we're still battling with the issue of inequality because those who govern do not want to assist the poor to be financially independent and become equal participants in the formal economy. The success of farming in this province relies on farm workers who continue to be underpaid and abused at the hands of the white farmers. Farm workers can stay in farm dwelling for almost the rest of their lives. But when they reach the retirement age, they are kicked out of those farms, and when they have nowhere else to go. Most municipalities in this province do not have budget for the provision of emergency houses. So it is the duty of this department with the Department of Housing to make sure that elderly people who are no longer farm workers get houses when they reach the retirement age or before that. When it comes to social welfare, farm workers are mostly neglected because most of them are in remote areas and do not have access to the necessities of life. This department must make it its duty to assist these farm workers. The plight of farm workers and emerging black farmers must be attended to, but until then, the EFF will not support this vote. Thank you very much, Deputy
Thank
Speaker.
you very much, Honourable Claire Hall. I now recognise Honourable August.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. When we look at the first quarter performance of the agricultural sector, I believe it is safe to say that it's a great potential to contribute much more positively to our provincial economy, add to job creation and income security. In comparison to other sectors, we have experienced large percentage of growth.
Please proceed, Honourable Member.
In comparison to other sectors, we have experienced large percentage of growth. The agriculture sector growth rate for the first quarter 22 was 0.5%. But this menial percentage growth created thousands of jobs. We realize that the sector can contribute a great deal to the national and provincial unemployment crisis. Instead of giving people a fish, let's teach them how to fish. This budget should explore a subsistence farming model that would serve poor, destitute communities and create an economy around as a sustainability mechanism. Empower young people by creating agricultural internship for those in the further education and training phases, with the possibility of a support package to start a small holding startup. Build and establish buffers to withstand the fast-changing effects climate change will have on the sector and the dire effects of the economy. We need to rediscover the importance of agriculture, and this budget needs to provide an enabling environment for that discovery. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much for your indulgence. I now recognise Honourable Murray. Honourable Wartman.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I forwarded an email to yourself, the Secretary, and Mr. Poggenpoel, Member Marais, just before he was now recognized, has asked that he does not participate in vote 11. Thank you.
Thank you very much for letting me know. I now recognize Honourable van der Westhuizen.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, honourable members, I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak on the adjustments budget, but let me first just respond to some of what was said here earlier today. Recently, I moved in this House that the House congratulates the category winners of the annual Prestige Agri Worker Awards that were announced at the gala ceremony at Grand West on Saturday, the 5th of November 2022.
Order, members.
And particularly Mr. Nigel Claassen, who was announced as the overall winner of 2022. Unfortunately, this motion was opposed by the leader of the official opposition. And therefore today, I would like to convey to those category winners and to the overall winner, Mr. Nigel Claassen.
Okay, please take your seat, Honourable Member. Honourable Said, what's your point of order?
Honourable Deputy Speaker, if I'm looking at the provincial constitution, there's no reference to a leader of an official opposition in the Western Cape. I just want to know which leader of which official. There's a leader of an opposition. Thank you.
It's not a point of order, but you can answer. Honourable van der West.
My apologies. My apologies. The unofficial leader of the opposition. Deputy Speaker.
Order, members.
I therefore want to put on record today that the Democratic Alliance congratulates the category winners. That the Democratic Alliance also want to congratulate particularly the overall winner, Mr. Nigel Claassen. And Deputy, I find it very, very sorry that the Honourable Maran, who has on numerous occasions been witness to enjoy the hospitality of the Department of Agriculture, including at that function where he particularly enjoyed the lamb shank, that he unfortunately is opposing any adjustments and any budgets for the Department of Agriculture. And I do hope that in future he will act with his conscience when it comes to these things.
Honourable members, we're just prolonging our lunch opportunity.
Under the Western Cape
Honourable van der Westhuizen, take your seat. Honourable Moran, you may rise.
Thanks, Speaker. Yeah.
Honourable Moran, 1 minute. Honourable
Speaker,
members, Honourable members, I can't hear a thing. And we're just prolonging our lunch break. Over to you.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Speaker, is it parliamentary? Is it parliamentary to try and bribe a member of parliament with a lamb shank? With a lamb shank?
It's a tough one, Honourable Moran. Yeah. Let's proceed. That's not a point of order. Please proceed, Honourable van der Westhuizen.
Thank you.
Please proceed, Honourable van der Westhuizen.
May I? Thank you. Thank you. And I do trust that the clock was stopped every time, Deputy.
I hope so. Yes, it was.
Under this department, the Western Cape has become the biggest exporter of agricultural products
Order, members.
of all South African provinces. And food security, and I think the Honourable Maran would be grateful for this, which is understood to be the ability to feed one's citizens, has become a very important topic over the last few decades, a consequence of widespread poverty and unemployment. South Africa, thanks to our farmers, is a net producer of food. Internationally and also domestically, there's a fast rising demand for food due to growing populations, and South Africa, unfortunately, is not getting bigger. The land available for agricultural purposes is not getting bigger, and due to climate change, it seems as if our water resources are also not growing. On an international ranked list of driest countries, South Africa was ranked 39 out of 182 countries by the United Nations Food and Organizational Data. While these rankings must be seen in context, it does illustrate the need in South Africa to manage all arable land and our water resources carefully. Predictions are that South Africa, together with our neighbors Botswana and Namibia, will be falling in the highest category of water stress by 2040. That's only 18 years from now. That is, if we continue with business as usual, which emphasizes the need for land reform not to kill off productive farms, not to decrease production on these farms, but rather to unlock the full potential of all farmland using water as sparingly as possible. Unfortunately, the track record of our national government in this regard is dismal, and we are not getting the promised return on our investments in land reform. 12 billion rand was spent by the national government since 2006 acquiring farms for land reform purposes under the PLUS or Proactive Land Reform Strategy. Yet the heartless lack of post-settlement support by the national government for these farmers mean that 75% of land reform farms are not commercially viable. I've seen in Europe, particularly in high-density cities and towns, how small pieces of land next to railway lines, next to highways, wherever an open piece of land can be found, are used for small-scale family gardens. I'm grateful for the work that this department has done to encourage and support family, but also community food gardens. While some also in this House are skeptical about this initiative, we should never forget the benefits of this program in a country with some of the highest unemployment figures in the world. Despite our climate, that unlike many other countries and even parts of South Africa requires water for irrigation of vegetable gardens, this initiative has made a difference to the lives of many of our citizens. It has not only...
Honourable Moran, guys, honourable members, I can't hear. Honourable van der Westhuizen is quite far back, so please, let's get through this. Over to you.
This initiative...
No, please, can I not have this crossing over of conversation? Over to you, Honourable van der Westhuizen.
Thank you, Chair, and I trust that this will be added to my time.
Yeah.
This...
Please proceed.
Thank you. Chair, please protect me.
Yeah, please, honourable members. It's just making our lunch opportunity shorter. Over to you.
No lunch for those that oppose farming. Chair, it has not only given these people dignity in being able to produce products for their own families and often surpluses for others, it has given them focus. Working with the soil and caring for plants also have psychological benefits. It is therefore with sadness and disbelief that members of this House on a recent oversight visit learned that even these worthwhile initiatives are prone to theft and vandalism. We've recently learned that the Western Cape is by far the province that created the biggest number of new jobs in agriculture over the past 10 years. Where the Western Cape has been able to create an additional 67,000 permanent jobs in agriculture, the next best province was Gauteng with only 10,000 jobs. This, while the National Development Plan actually envisaged that agriculture should grow by 1 million jobs in the period under discussion.
Order.
This achievement by the Western Cape.
Order, members. Honourable Kondlo, Honourable Premier.
Deputy Speaker, do you want me to continue despite?
I would like, Honourable Moran, I'll have to hold off until we have some opportunity to hear Honourable van der Westhuizen. You may proceed. Honourable Moran, please.
You. This achievement by the Western Cape should be celebrated, particularly when seen against the enormous unemployment levels in our country. Unfortunately, the ANC's labour policy seems set to kill jobs rather than create jobs. The national government has often referred to the term infrastructure-led growth. And yes, we are currently benefiting from infrastructure projects by our predecessors. My question to you today is, will our children one day be proud of us? Will our children be able to celebrate and say, these capital projects were built in my parents' name, in my parents' time, These projects arise from the increase in the wall height of the Clan William Dam, the Buffeljas Dam outside Swellendam, and the work on the canal feeding the Brandvlei Dam. None of these have started or been completed on time. I'm sorry to report that the national government is not even keeping up with the maintenance of existing infrastructure. And it's again this province that is stepping in to fund what is essentially the mandate of central government. Various water canals are far beyond their design capacity and lifespan, yet there's no funding for new and bigger canals. We may one day end up with water in an enlarged Clan William Dam, should that project eventually come to fruition, but then lack the infrastructure to bring the water to in adequate quantities to land reform projects with enormous job creation potential and the ability to produce food such as Ebenezer. The Western Cape also has the oldest and best performing agricultural training institute at Elsenburg. Unfortunately, many of the comparable agricultural colleges in other provinces have fallen into disrepair and have become an embarrassment to those provinces. An embarrassment which they would gladly hand over to anyone willing to accept a failed training institution. Can you imagine an agricultural college where students should be trained to care for livestock, but where animals are dying of thirst and hunger? So despite the National Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform not even being able to deal with what is primarily the responsibility of the central government, she's planning to take over provincial agricultural colleges. In our view, the training needs in the various provinces show different needs. Viticulture, for example, is mostly concentrated in the Western Cape. And Elsenburg has been producing some of the best trained winemakers internationally. Winemakers with skills that are now being demanded worldwide. It is therefore clear that these colleges are best run by the various provinces where the provinces still function. Now, turning to the adjustments in the budget, this department would be receiving a well-deserved additional 23.477 million. This amounts to 2.4% of the original budget. Almost all programs see a slight increase in the budgets, which would allow them to continue with their good work. The sources of additional funding can be traced to rollovers as well as provincial and retained revenue funding. Extension and advisory services would be able to continue and even expand their world-class scientific support and advice to farmers, helping to ensure that the success and the growth of these farmers, particularly emerging farmers. This support is vital to them, and they cannot be expected to be immediate experts in their fields after being handed a title deed or lease agreement. But the National Minister recently admitted that the almost 1,700 beneficiaries of the PLUS program, in which farmers are forced to only lease this land back from the government, should be replaced. We've argued that this should be replaced by full ownership of these farms. This will allow them to have access to the credit that is such an important factor due to the seasonal nature of farming. There's been a 5.5 million additional allocation to the veterinary diagnostic services budget. This shows that the danger of animal diseases that's been seen this year with foot and mouth and other diseases is being taken seriously by this Western Cape department. The foot and mouth disease, with Onits the Poort not being able to produce vaccines anymore, has wreaked havoc under livestock farmers, and we can be grateful for the work of this department that has kept foot and mouth disease away from the Western Cape. The importance of modern technology and advanced information systems in agriculture has grown tremendously over the last few years. The face of agriculture, that for many centuries was seen as a simple, slow-moving environment, has changed completely. I therefore welcome the additional 2 million allocation to the Research Infrastructure Support Services budget. This program helps to ensure that the Western Cape is able to keep pace with the evolving nature of agricultural technology, with the facilities needed to ensure we can conduct vital research. Knowledge gained must be shared, and I therefore also welcome the 4.7 million additional allocation to Program 7, Agricultural Education and Training. As stated earlier, one of the shining lights of agricultural higher education, not only in South Africa, but also the continent. Furthermore, there's an increased allocation of 1.6 million to the Agricultural Skills development sub-programs budget, ensuring our workforce stay up to date with the latest techniques. And this province is the only one with a farm worker development program. We really care for our farm workers. I therefore have no hesitation in asking this House to support the adjustments to the budget of the Department of Agriculture. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable van der Westhuizen. I now recognise Minister Mayor.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I will be brief. We are the only province in South Africa that has a agri-worker competition. We are the only province where 1,000 agri-workers took part in the competition. We are the only province in South Africa that have allocated 10.9 million rand for agri-workers.
Order, members.
We are the only province that allocate money and a program for worker engagement. We are the only government in South Africa where the funding for brownfly was motivated from the perspective of water for rural development, which is the mandate of this government. And also, Honourable Deputy Speaker, land reform is a national mandate, but we're not abandoning it. We work with organizations like PELS. And Honourable Deputy Speaker, I want to thank the chairperson of the committee for an outstanding debate and outstanding contribution throughout the year, also in his capacity there. And I want to thank all the members of the committee and my staff, Dr. Sebo Petse, Dr. Ilse Trautman, as well as Daryl Jacobs and the senior management, the only functional agricultural department in South Africa. Honourable Deputy Speaker, to conclude.
Order. Order, members.
To conclude, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I was now informed that the ANC is planning to bring on Monday a nomination to the House to nominate a speaker as the ANC's candidate. I have now been informed that the candidate for speaker for the ANC on Monday will be President Ramaphosa.
Honourable members, if I can just have your indulgence, a few seconds, please. Honourable Syed. Okay. Honourable members, can I have your attention, please? Honourable Moran. Honourable Moran. Honourable members, before we suspend the House, Honourable Moran, have a seat. Before we suspend the House, that concludes the vote on agriculture. We will suspend the House until 2 o'clock, where we will proceed then with environmental affairs, that is vote 9. Members, we have a very full afternoon program, so please enjoy your lunch and the break. The House is suspended till 2 p.m.